Okay. We are so back. We have a choice to make. Do we see a sword? Oh, I see it. Now that it's been a day, I see the sword. It's to the left right there, where my cursor is. The answer is definitely yes. I assume I would have to see a sword anyways, otherwise I'd get killed by the dude. So, yeah. I don't think putting no would ever be the right answer in any circumstance. Interesting how my sword is only a single blader, it looks like, compared to Senna's, which was like an energy sword, dual pronged, whatever. Anyways, yeah, I see it. I distinctly saw a sword. Another decision? Yeah. If I move from here, I can take it. No. I see the sword from other places than here. Can we? I don't see any. Oh god, I feel like I'm afraid of making a wrong decision here. I don't think I can. Maybe I can negotiate to allow me to move and grab the sword. No. It's not actually a sword. I mean, delusions become reality, right? So it is actually a sword. But it's a delusionary sword, so it's not real. But it becomes real. No, it is. Oh, you disappoint me? Strong push in my back. Or I could even know someone had moved up right behind me. I hadn't felt any presence. It couldn't have been Shogun. I hadn't heard the creaking sound of a wheelchair. Then who? The night ski should be a station spun around and around. I fell to the earth, felt the wind rushing over, the ground was closing in. I hear screams by the cheers all around me. Is this it? Is this how it ends? Is this how I die? Oh god, no. Not like this, not like this, not like this, not like this, not like this. Oh. I died. Huh. Okay. Go back. So I have to change my perspective and I have to keep on seeing it, right? So yes, I see a sword. I distinctly saw a sword. The sword's becoming more and more visible, I think, is what's happening. If I move from here, I can take it. No, don't do that. I can see from the sword from other places than here. Yeah.
君には失望したよ。
Oh, that's a wrong answer. Dang, so I've been answering them right for a pretty good while. Okay. Let's F5 is load. Yeah. I have to answer the sword is a delusion, I guess. I distinctly saw a sword. Yes. If I move from here, I can take it. No. I can see the sword from other places in here. No. It's not actually a sword. Yes. I'd seen it. Within the night landscape blurred my teary eyes. Amid the scenery in which light was warped by welling tears, I found a spot that looked just like the sword. Just like what Ayase had said. I noticed it at first. When I saw it ever so slightly altering my perspective, it was there before I knew it. Even if it had just been a coincidence, I was more than happy with it. The more I thought of it as a sword, the more defined it became, and over time it was becoming more and more real. It was slowly turning into a definite part of the scenery. Eventually, even its contours seemed clearly distinguishable.
見つけたんだ。
You found it, didn't you? Likely having noticed my change in the meaning, Shogun immediately spoke to me.
では手を伸ばして
Now I want to
その
reach
剣を切り取ってほしい。
out your hand and cut the sword free.
深く考えなく
You
てい
don't
い。
even have to think very hard about it.
君にならできる。
You can do this.
できるわけないじゃん。
No, you can't, and you know it.
ダメ、タッキー。そんなことしたら下に
You
落ちちゃ
can't
う。
listen to him talk. If you do that, you're gonna fall. And if you fall, you'll die. I looked down and saw a crowd with countless people. The ambulance still had yet to arrive. Just like back at noon, the response time was far, far too slow. Not that it had been surprising. That was just how damaging the earthquake this morning had truly been.
切り取るなんてできないよ。
Can't cut it free, how could I?
固定観念にとら
Don't
わ
let
れ
your preconceptions restrict you.
最初からできるわ
If
け
you
がな
think
い
that
と
you
思
can
って
do it before you even try, you won't be able to.
常識を捨て去って
Your common sense will win and simply see things as they are.
君には力がある。
Power dwells within you,
世界は
and the
その
world
力
will
に
respond to that power.
あの花壇みたいに
Just as it did with that flower bed. Could I really do that? If I reached out, that sword would become mine. If so, then I should at least give it a try. Ayase said that my DI sword would bring you salvation. Maybe those words were referring exactly to what is happening now. I'll grasp the sword, complete the quest, and bring Nanami home safe and sound. Shogun, leave me alone forever. And then I would return to my peaceful life I've been living up until now.
そんなに都合よくいくと思う？
Do you really think it'll be that easy?
将軍があっさりタッキーを見逃すって？
You really think Shogun will let you go just like that?
だって相手は10人も殺
The
した連
guy's a
続
serial
殺人
killer
鬼なん
who's
だよ。
already slaughtered 10 people? Were those 10 people all people who had a DI sword? When the guy's a serial killer who's already slaughtered 10 people, Ian Shogun wouldn't make me do the impossible. I could do it. He wouldn't tell me to do it if I wasn't capable of it.
あいつはタッキーを殺したい
He
だ
just
け。
wants to kill you, Taki.
忘れたの？集
Did you
団ダ
forget
イブの映
about the
像。
group dive video?
将軍は
Shogun's
5人の男
already
女に
made
一回
5
も触れる
folks
こと
fall
な
to
く
their
連絡
death
死させ
without
たんだ
even
ろ？
touching them. Remember? I'm sorry, Serotan, but I'm already reaching for my salvation. The crowd below started rumbling. My every move was being monitored by the thousands of people packed in front of the station. And it wasn't just them. I was also being watched by tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people all over Japan watching live on TV. I started feeling nauseous. The extreme pressure and closeness of the large number of people made my heart feel like it was full in a second. No, just forget about them. If I stayed focused on them, I'd be too nervous to even lift a finger, and to focus only on the soul. Being as careful to maintain my footing as possible, I reached my hand out. I tried to aim directly at the sword, letting my intuition be the way. I felt nothing. The wind rushed toward me relentlessly. On top of that, the direction it was coming from was inconsistent. One second it was blowing at me from the front, the next it pushed me from the side. I clung to the acrylic plate in an attempt to support myself. It was too slippery to bring me anything more than emotional support. I let my guard down just slightly, I had to get blown off. And so I was still trying desperately to grab the sword. No matter how hard I tried, I didn't succeed.
できるわけないよ。
I can't do it.
だってあれは本当の剣
It's
じゃ
not
ない
a
んだ
goddamn
よ。
real sword. Tears rolled once more. A vision blurred, and what had once appeared to be an object similar to a sword began to lose its shape. I quickly wiped my tears away. I had the feeling that once I lost sight of it, it wouldn't appear again.
それならもっと手を伸ばせばいい。
In that case, all you need to do is reach out farther. Fuck you, fuck. You don't know how this feels. Bit my lip to hold back the tears, leaned forward more than I ever had before, and fished around in the open air with my hand. I still couldn't grasp the sword. More. If I fell from here? I looked down once again. I was higher than I thought it was. I felt dizzy, so I pulled back and clung to the acrylic plate once
ど
more.
うしたの？
What are you doing?
剣を
Grab
早く
your
手に
sword
入
quickly now.
れない
If
とい
you
つまで
don't,
経って
you
も
won't see Nanami-chan again for a very long time. I shouldn't have looked down. Didn't stop shaking. I thought I was going to slip because of it. I was so unbelievably afraid.
できないよ。
Can't do it. Please just let me go.
君はあまり僕を
Please, you underestimate my power.
君のわがままに
I
付き合
don't
う
plan to
つもり
cave to some childish tantrum.
理想像を手に入れ
Grasp your DI
そ
sword.
れができないな
If
ら
you can't,
君の妹は死ぬ
your sister will
君
die.
は
And
死
you
ねない
will soon fall.
ただそれだ
That was all there is to it. Oh god, I don't want to die.
死に
I
た
don't
く
want
な
to
い。
die. Had no choice but to try again. I leaned out through the hole and extended my arm. I could still feel the sword over there. I tried again and again, but of course nothing happened. Felt like I could reach it. For some reason, I just couldn't do it. I leaned out even farther, stretched my hand as far as I could, reaching out with my entire body trying to grasp the sword. I even straightened out my fingertips. Then I slowly closed my hand. Just like every time before, I felt nothing.
手が届かないよ。
I can't reach it. It was impossible because Seroton told me it was. I had never been away from me to grab that translucent sword. Perspective had made it look normal size, but when I actually thought about it, I realized how enormous it actually was. It wasn't the size a human could realistically carry.
その剣をつかめば
If you grab that sword, the quest will be complete.
でもじゃあ届かない。
Oh, so he changed the conditions. Before it was like, oh, if you grab the sword, there's still other stuff you have to do, but now you're just like, fuck it. Grab it, you're done. Just grab it. I'll fall, I can't reach
ナナ
it.
ミちゃんを助けなくていい
Are you willing to let Nanami-chan die?
助けて。
Help.
もう許し
Let
て。
me go already.
死にたくな
I
い
don't
ん
want to
だ
die.
よ。
昼間のことを思い
Think
出す
about what happened at noon today.
君の
With
力
the
があれば
powers you have within you, even if you fall, the only thing you'll need to do is create yet another flower bed.
君は落
You
ちて
may fall, but you won't die.
自信ある？
Are you sure you can do it? Right then, Seroton's snarky whisper reached my ear. Am I sure I can do it? Do what?
タッキーがここから落ちて
If you
下の
fall
地
from
面に
here,
激
it'll
突す
take
るま
you
でほんの
less than
3秒も
3
ないの？
seconds to hit the ground.
その間に
So
自
in
分
that
の意
time,
志で
you'll
ま
have
た
to make
花
another
を
flower
実
bed
現させ
appear
る。
using with the power of your will.
タッキーがそんなすごいこ
Are
と
you
でき
sure you
る？
can do something so hard, Taki?
今まで一度も自分で意
You
識
haven't
し
ever
てその
used your
力とかって
power
の
on
使ったこ
purpose
とないっしょ？
Ain't I right? That was true. Knew if I did have powers, I'd no idea how to use them.
ねえ逃げよう。タッキ
So
ーは
let's
よ
just
くや
run
った
away,
よ。
okay? You done good, Taki.
でもこれ以上は無理。
Anything more is just too much for you.
死にたくないっしょ？
You don't want to die, right? But Nanami,
どうせ生意気なナナミ
whatever
ちゃんのこと
happens,
だ
it's
か
your
らさ。
bratty little sister we're talking about here. Jesus Christ, Seroton's kind of evil.
ここでタッキーが頑張って助け
Even
た
if
って
he tries as hard as he
感
can
謝
to
して
save
くれ
her,
なさそうじゃ
do you
ん
really think she'll be grateful for it? Seroton's words got straight to the point and it caught me off guard. It was true that even if I saved her life, Nanami would probably say something like,
お兄のせいでこんな目
"What
に
do
あ
I
ったん
care
だ
if
から
you saved
ね
me?
バカ
It's your fault that I got into this mess, you big jerk." She wouldn't even thank me, said she'd insult me. I'd have to bear living with a family that would despise me for the rest of my life. At the end of the day, no matter what I could say about her, Nanami was still just some 3D little sister. She didn't make me moe over her. And she didn't have the pure heart of a 2D character. She was always looking down on me and just secretly, no, not very secretly, made fun of me whenever she could. What happened to my bratty bitch of a sister was none of my business. Seroton was the one thing, but my shit-tier little sister wasn't worth betting my life
タ
on.
ッキー自分のことだけ考えよう
Taki, just think about yourself right now,
私
okay?
はさタッキーに死んでほしくないの
I don't want to see you dead, Taki.
こうしてずっとタッキーの
I
脳
just
内
want
で
to talk with you
やりきり
inside
で
your head.
話し続けたいん
Just the
よ
two of us forever and always. Same. I always felt the most comfortable in talking to Seroton. I didn't give a shit about Nanami.
死にたくない。
I don't want to die.
痛いのは嫌だ。
I don't want to feel pain.
死ぬのは嫌だ。
I don't want to be dead.
消えるのは嫌
I
だ。
don't want to disappear.
ナナミがどうなろうと
Whatever happens to
僕は
Nanami
痛くも痒くも
doesn't
ない。
affect me. I muttered all that to myself as a way of trying to make it sound convincing. The one I should trust, it wasn't Shogun, it was
この
Seroton.
剣、
The sword.
剣に見え
It
るだ
only
けで
looked like a
剣
sword.
じゃな
It
い。
wasn't a real one.
ただの
It was just
光の
some
反
weird
射と
reflection
目
or
の錯
optical
覚だ。
illusion or something.
そうだよ
You got it. Come on. You ready to head home?
帰ったらさ
Once you get
私
home,
のパンツ見
I'll
なが
let
ら
you look at
い
my
っぱいエッチな
panties
こ
and
と想像してい
fantasize
いか
about
ら
all sorts of sexy stuff with me. Okay,
僕帰る。
I'll go home.
帰って。
Or go home and I'll fast my heart's content to you, Seroton.
嬉しいな
Sounds fun.
タッキーのためにエッチなポーズ
I'll
た
strike
くさん
tons
し
of
てあげる
dirty
ね
poses for Yataki. He actually quit. I slowly withdrew my outstretched hand. That would make me feel much more at ease. Took Seroton out of my chest pocket and gazed at her smile. As long as I had her forgiveness, I didn't need anything else. I then turned around and started walking towards
誰が
Shogun.
動いていいと許可した？
Who gave you permission to move from that
クエストは
spot?
まだクリ
I
アして
still
いな
haven't
いぞ。
completed the quest.
僕は
I'm
勇
not
者
a
なんか
hero,
じゃない。
and I'm not anything like one.
妹一人救え
I'm
な
a
い
weak,
ような下手
pathetic,
な
useless
妹
sack
だ
of
よ
shame. Otaku freak who can't even save his only sister.
僕に期待しないで。
So don't expect anything from me.
僕を見ないで。
Don't look at me.
僕をそっと
Just
しておい
leave me
て。
alone.
ではナナミちゃんは
If
殺す
that's
こ
your
とにする。
decision, then I will kill Nanami-chan.
どうせ
Whatever.
もう
She's
死ん
already
でる。
dead anyway. She was already dead. Nanami had been brutally murdered by Shogun. Everyone will report on it starting tomorrow, treating it as the 6th New Gen incident. It saddened me, but there's nothing I could do about it. Big bro. Big bro. Heard the sound dripping water. No, it wasn't water. It was blood. Nanami's blood. Dark red blood dripped from the wrist where her hand had been severed.
なんで
Why?
助けて
Why didn't you come save me?
鬼
Big bro.
鬼って
You're
最低
the worst thing that ever happened to me. I screamed my guts out.
よくもよくもよくも
How dare you, how dare you, how dare you, how dare you. The world turned crimson. My anger, my sadness, and my shame were ripping my head apart. My thoughts were a chaotic mess. Without any rhyme or reason, I charged towards Shogun. I made to grab him within his hiding place in the shadows, but I didn't get the physical response I expected. I collapsed along with the wheelchair. Must have hurt my elbow as pain was shooting through it. Grimacing, I searched for the person who should have been sitting on the wheelchair. At my feet, a head tumbled across the ground. Terrified, I slowly reached out my hand to what I felt was extremely hard. Rather than a freshly severed head, it was clearly a helmet.
これ
What? A pitch black helmet? What is that?
The-
It's like something from Spider-Man.
ダーススパイダー
Darth Spider? Oh, it's Darth Vader and something from Spider-Man, literally. Chapter 7, Psychopath. Despite midnight quickly approaching, the ticket gates of the subway's Hansamon line were still filled to the brim with people. The earthquake had violently disrupted the public transportation schedules, and no one was even attempting to hide their frustration as they passed through the ticket gate. Pulling a sidelong glance, Bon Yasuji inspected the monitor resting in the station attendant booth. The station staff had received a call yesterday during their morning operations. The caller had reported that a high school girl wielding a gigantic bladed weapon was going on the rampage in the area. The police had been dispatched in response to this, but upon arriving at the scene, they found no trace of the girl nor the man who had supposedly been attacked. Vaughn, who had happened to overhear the story earlier today, was very interested in the appearance of the male victim. The fact that there had been several similar incidents had also caused attention. This was why Bond was making an appearance here at such an hour. According to his sources, the incident had been captured in full on one of the surveillance cameras. When Bond asked the station attendant to show him the video, they willingly agreed, but warned the detective that the video was a little creepy. Duly noting this, Bond elected to have him show him the video. The video is full of static. Maybe it's from the earthquake, Bond thought to himself. There have been various reports of the earthquakes causing citizens to lose hard disk data, leaving Bond to wonder whether it was related. It would be difficult to identify anyone in the recording, as they were just barely visible. The recording featured a single man. He was standing by the wall in the far right corner of the screen. The wall was located slightly far from the ticket gates, meaning passengers would not travel past it very often as they were changing trains. Incidentally, a few other passengers had just crossed in front of the camera. The man's appearance was hard to make out due to the fierce static, but he was fairly short and thin. He was carrying a large rucksack. Oh, a porter? What exactly was he doing? Bond could not say. After about an hour or so had passed in the video, a small change occurred. A few people commuting to work were walking in the direction of the man, and then they swiftly stopped. To Bond, it looked as if they had been drawn to the man with the rucksack. What was truly strange, however, was that they did not even speak to him, but simply stood there in a daze. The people who had stopped did not seem to be acquaintances of the man. There were different ages, sexes, statures. There was absolutely nothing they all shared. What in blazes is going on? Staring at the monitor, Bond tilted his head to the side as he did so. A lone girl entered the frame. She had long hair, and she was wearing a uniform from Sume Academy. The girl headed straight for the man with the rucksack in a manner that could only be described as exuding nothing but pure, unadulterated confidence. Her movements were entirely unlike those who had stopped before. Instead of halting, the girl pushed aside the people gathered there and then seized the man by his collar. For a short period of time, the two of them argued about something. Rather than an argument, however, was far closer to the girl simply screaming at the man about giving him room for air, or at least that's how it appeared. A few of the people who had stopped seemed to return to their senses and promptly left the scene. Eventually, the girl thrust the man away from her. The girl took a step back from the man who had fallen on his rear, then assumed a strange pose. She lowered her hips and brought both fists next to her ears. Okay, that's a miss stance. The girl looked as if she was holding something, but there was nothing in her hands. According to the report, the girl had been wielding a large blade, but where on earth could she be hiding such a thing? The answer to that soon became apparent. Suddenly a screen, the camera shook. It was not static. The rustling hair and clothes of the passerby made it clear the surveillance camera itself was shaking. What the... Vaughn gawked at the screen. He had no idea where she had retrieved it from. The next thing he knew, the girl was holding a gigantic sword in her hand, one that was longer than she was tall. Vaughn asked for the tape to be rewound just so he could confirm what he had seen. But no matter what angle he examined it from, the sword appeared to have been conjured out of thin air. The girl had not moved a single muscle. She had remained in her hunched position the entire time. This much was undeniable. What kind of magic trick is that? The people in the video went into a panic when faced with the sudden appearance of the sword, but the girl did not seem to care about the people around her. The man with the rucksack, however, was clearly terrified. He tried desperately to scramble to his feet and run away, but the girl would not allow that. With incredible agile moves, she pursued the fleeing man and swung her gigantic sword as if it was light as a feather. In a manner akin to a violent windstorm, the sword tore the man's rucksack to pieces. The impact was so strong that he immediately collapsed to the ground. Despite this, he appeared uninjured. In fact, when the police officers had arrived on the scene immediately after receiving the call, they had not found a single trace of blood. Who the hell is this girl? Then, as if the girl had heard Bond's murmuring, something that should have been impossible considering his recording, she suddenly turned towards the camera. The screen was so slightly distorted. The girl's figure disappeared in an instant. It was as if she had never been there to begin with. The man's shredded rucksack had been left behind, and the remnants of it were proof that the girl had been there. It was hard to tell because of the static, but it was clear that the girl had disappeared from the screen in less than a second. Upon reran the tape again, there was nothing that seemed unnatural at the time displayed in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. In other words, the footage had not been edited. But if that were true, how could Bond explain the girl and the sword? Bond, feeling as though he had seen a ghost, could do nothing more than remain completely and utterly puzzled. A world of complete and utter white. And I was lying right in the center of it all. Felt as if I were floating, but I didn't know whether or not I actually was. I couldn't figure out what direction I was facing, not up nor down, nor left nor right. The silence was deafening. It felt as if there were hundreds of insects buzzing around my head at once. If someone were to tell me this was the afterlife, I couldn't see myself contesting it. That was how monotonous, simplistic, tranquil, orderly, immaculate, empty, and peaceful the world was. Perhaps this is what the mind of Buddha was like upon reaching enlightenment. It was so incredibly different from my own mind. I wanted to stay here forever. The irritation that came with reality, the loneliness, the pain and suffering, I didn't want to face any of it anymore. As my thoughts began to cascade, I heard a noise burst into the white world that had previously been silent. The sound of a door being opened, and the sound of someone's footsteps getting closer and closer. Big bro, I'm here. Let's see. Hey, big bro. Okay, so today I decided to bring you something real nice. Right, here it is, I got you a present. It's a hand-knit hat, it looks so nice and warm, doesn't it? Well, it is. Anyway, so the story is, you know how much I already like hats, right? Well, since winter and all, I went and knitted one. So go on, try it on. Come on, don't ignore me. I still got some food left over. And it's curry too. Gotta make sure you eat up, alright? Hey, so is it true that hospital food's not very good? Well, that's sad, but you still need to eat it. Oh, come on, wake up, big bro. If you go to bed without eating, your stomach's gonna end up growling in the middle of the night. Someone's hand made its way under my back and forcefully shook my body awake. That was when I first realized my eyes had been closed. So your sister's alive, apparently. I opened my eyes, a little girl standing there. It was Nanami, my little sister. She was awfully little. It was Nanami from a long time ago. Well, that doesn't bode well. How long ago, I wondered. She must have at least been in elementary school. Okay, say, so I'm older than? She's not, right? Yeah. You're the big room here. Oh, it's because you're sick. Yeah, you're hospitalized, that's why. Nanami scooped up some curry with a plastic spoon, then offered it to me. And I slapped the hand holding the spoon. You know, all this time I still didn't know what had been going through my head. At that moment, I knocked away the tray of curry and rice in my hand and sent it crashing to the floor. Sigh. Bro, those are some real bad manners, you know. I'm gonna tell Mom. Nanami crouched down to the floor and picked up the tray I'd cast aside. She then retrieved a washcloth from the sink in the corner of the room and began cleaning up the mess I'd made. You're a real troublemaker, you know. I swear you couldn't do a thing if I wasn't around, big bro. That's enough. I covered my face with my hands and slowly closed my eyes. I'm sorry. I couldn't protect you. I slowly opened my eyes and saw a white ceiling. It was so bright it nearly blinded me. I blinked my eyes a few times. I tried to move my fingertips. I raised my hand in front of my face. The palm of my hand created a shadow. At last I was free from the blinding glare. I had been dreaming about Nanami ever since I could remember. She had an especially strong will. After the bus accident back in elementary school, I'd stopped talking to anyone and everyone, but even so, that part of Nanami only became stronger and stronger. Unlike my parents, who were simply overprotective and nothing else, she'd taken care of me while remaining strict and firm. That dream. Had I ever been hospitalized before? I'd gone for checkups, sure, but, well, it was just a dream, so there's no real reason to take it nor the contradiction seriously. I was lying on a bed. It was a white bed with a pipe frame. The sheets were white, the pillows were white, the linoleum floor was white, the wallpaper was white, the fluorescent lights on the ceiling were white, the curtains covering the windows were white. The small shelf next to the bed was white, the ceramic water pitcher was white, the paper cups were white. I was starting to get fed up with all the white, mustering up my resolve and attempted to sit up. For a split second, I felt a numbing pain jolt through the area around my waist, but it went away just as suddenly as it appeared. The room was fairly large, at least twice the size of my base. But what really bothered me was how incredibly dreary it was. Maybe it was a hospital room. There was a pair of green slippers lined up beneath the bed. I was relieved to find a color other than white. My body was moving just fine. It didn't seem like I was dead either. I was thirsty. I wanted a cola, an ice cold carbonated cola. But there's no way I'd be able to find something like that in this pure white room, so I was forced to pour water directly from the pitcher into my mouth. It was a bit lukewarm, but it was enough to satisfy my thirst. Huh? What is she doing here? Upon seeing me, her eyes grew slightly wide, just as I would still be asleep.
あら、西条さん、目が覚めたんですね。
Nishijo-san. Facing me, she gave me a gentle smile, the mark of a true nerd. But something told me I'd seen this person before. I remember now, she was the grill who had been at the hospital and had gone to see Dr. Takashino a while back. What had she said her name was? I couldn't remember, so I stole a glance at the name tag on her chest. Hazuki was written on it. Right, Hazuki-san.
お体の調子はどうです
How
か
are you feeling? Hazuki-san held out a thermometer to me, so naturally I couldn't help but take it.
体温を測ってくださいね。
Could you please stick this under your arm for me? How nicely she'd ask, I had no choice but to comply. My head was overrun with question marks and put the thermometer inside my armpit nonetheless. Immediately after I did so, a memory burst to life inside my head. I remembered what happened. Back then, I had given up on saving Nanami. I had grabbed onto Shogun's wheelchair, but there had been no response. It had collapsed in a heap, and when I looked again, all I'd been holding was Darth Spider's helmet. Count Darth Spider, the very embodiment of evil and Spark Wars. His black-clad appearance was famous even in Japan. But I would have never thought that Shogun would cosplay as him, so my anger had been overridden by raw confusion. After that, I stood up and looked at the wheelchair, but there had been no one in it. Only a black hood draped over the back of it. That was another part of Darth Spider's costume. I then examined my surroundings one more time, but there had been no one there. I'd been the only one on that pitch black rooftop. Oh, they're all supposed to be an angry mob now, right? So many questions flooding in all at once. They had surrounded me with lights, cameras, and microphones. I had no room to breathe. There had been more than 10 of them in total. I was overwhelmed by it all. My terror simply grew and grew. I wanted to run away, but I couldn't even muscle. I couldn't felt my neck.
西尾君、帽子はどうなっちゃったのかな。
I'm sure it's clairvoyant.
結局ニュージェルの犯人は誰なのかわからないということですか？
そのダーススパイ
Could
ダ
that
ー
Darth
の
Spider
何
helmet
か
have something to do with
と
her
関
psychic
係あるの
powers?
かな。西条さん、
Nishijo-san,
答えてくれませんか。
can you please answer her
これで終わりなんて言うなら
question?
電
I
波ジャック
have
です
nothing
よ。
to say. I realize I've wasted a whole lot of time and money, right?
結局何がしたかったんで
What
す？
is all this for? Was
ニュ
that
ージェルに
publicity
便乗
trying
し
to
た
take
場合
advantage
は
of
ど
the
う
new
ですか？
gen?
不
Do I
謹慎
find
だ
that
と
too
思わないんです
completely
か？
be inappropriate?
ユーリ・ブライトマ
Have
ン
you
さんとは
spoken
最
with
近
Yuri
話したか
Brightman
な。
recently?
どんなこと話した？
What did you two talk about? Oh, man. I need to... There's a lot to take in. Yuri Brightman went back.
地震と
You
ニュ
think
ージェ
there's
ル
a
について
connection
何か
between the
関係ある
earthquake
と
and
思い
New
ます
Gen?
か。
I don't know, maybe.
その手に持ってい
Would I
る
be
美
right
少
as
女
soon
フィ
as
ギ
the
ュアは
anime
何ら
girl
か
was
の儀
holding
式
in
的
her
な
hand
アイ
some
テ
kind
ム
of
と考
totem?
え
Were
ていい
you
です
using
か
it a ritual? No.
このようなことを
Did anime or video games have any kind of influence on this behavior of yours?
西条さん、
Nishijo-san.
西条さん
Nishijo-san.
西条君。
The lighting pointed at me had been incredibly hot. It felt as if my skin was being singed by the sun during the hottest part of the summer. The flood of people from the media made me feel lightheaded. My field of vision had been spinning around in circles. I've been cornered, I've been panicking, and unable to breathe. I grasped my head. I can't see anything, I don't want to see anything, I can't hear anything, I don't want to hear anything, I can't feel anything, I don't want to feel anything. Stop. Leave me alone. The very same moment I screamed, like a computer that short-circuited the consciousness had severed. That was exactly what happened. I lost consciousness. Are you in an insane asylum now? And then how had I ended up here at this hospital? I couldn't remember. At the very least, I didn't think I'd come on my own, so maybe I'd brought to the hospital by an ambulance. Hazuki-san was writing something on the clipboard she was holding, but she had a slip of paper clipped onto it. Was she writing about my condition? Check what time it was by a simplistic watch wrapped around her wrist. It was a little after 6 a.m. I slept for a really long time. Regardless, why had I been brought here? If Hazuki-san was here, then this meant this was my normal hospital. It wasn't like me being brought to a general hospital was particularly weird, but something still didn't feel right. Why was Hazuki-san coming to check on me? That question really bothered me. I mean, Hazuki-san was a psychiatric nurse. If Hazuki-san was coming to check on me, didn't that mean that the room I was in was also used by psychiatric patients? Maybe all the normal beds are full because all the people who had been injured in yesterday's earthquake and just happened to put me in one of the beds from the psychiatric ward because of that. No, I think they just think you're crazy. Or maybe they decide that me collapsing was due to psychological factors rather than physical ones. I suppose it wouldn't be wrong then. I mean, it was gradually getting worse and worse.
昨日ご家族がお見え
Family
にな
member
って
who
い
was
たん
going
で
to
すけ
see you
ど、
yesterday, but
西条さんの意識が
as
戻
he
らない
didn't
ので
regain
日
consciousness
付
in
が変わる
time,
頃にお帰り
they
になり
left
まし
her
た。
around midnight.
今日は診察時間が始まる頃にお母様が来るそうですよ。
Your mother informed us that she'll be arriving at around the time we opened. I nodded in response, not having the energy to say anything back. Mom, I'm sorry for being such a disgrace and an embarrassment to Japan, no, the entire world. The entire thing had been televised, meaning it had already been spread to the entire country. I was sure my shameful behavior had been uploaded to YouTube as well. I had no idea why I had been made into the amazing Esper boy, and it didn't make any sense to the broadcast. My every move, and on that day of a huge earthquake no less, when I was nothing but a boring otaku freak, it wasn't normal. Because of that, I couldn't help but think that everyone from back then was being mind-controlled by Shogun. But regardless of whether or not that was true, I'd still publicly humiliate myself. It wasn't something I'd escape after enduring a quick shitstorm online that'd be forgotten about in a week. Was this it for me? Would I no longer be able to live in peace? Suddenly, Nanami's face appeared in the back of my mind. I bit down my lip and hugged my knees. Even if that was no longer attainable, as long as I could save Nanami, none of it would matter. Even if people from all over the world snickered at me and called me pathetic loser for the rest of my life, would make no difference to me. I couldn't save her. I couldn't even do that much.
Nana.
Tears are gonna fall from my eyes.
どうしました？
What's wrong?
どこか痛みま
Are
す？
you in pain? Shook my head over and over. I kept on crying. Nanami is dead. Nanami is dead, and she was never coming back. It was all my fault. All my fault. All my fault. Because of how worthless I was. Because how much of a fucking loser I was. Nanami is dead. Back on the rooftop, I'd given up so easily on obtaining the DI sword. I had Seroton's seductive voice in my ear. That was just my pathetic self pretending to be someone else. I was the one who would make that decision. I had made myself look like a pitiful victim. I chose to sacrifice Nanami so I would survive. I hated myself, how fucking pathetic I was. If only I just tried a little bit harder. I told myself I'd given up on my own volition. But now that it was all over, I regret every single thing I'd done on that rooftop. I was absolutely disgusted with myself. She was gone. Nothing could save her now. And yet, even still, I couldn't help but think that. Even if I could go back to the rooftop and I just tried a little bit harder. But I knew that even if I actually could go back, I'd just give up all over again. Find some other excuse to get me out of it. That was just who I was. Completely useless, irredeemable POS.
Nanami.
Nanami.
ごめん。
I'm so sorry.
Nanami.
Nanami. Hazuki-san rubbed my back and tried to comfort me. I was a useless sack of shit to the very end. I was even causing problems for nurses that had nothing to do with me. The tears refused to stop.
何か
There's
後
something
悔してい
you
ることがあ
regret,
るんです
isn't
ね
there?。
でもきっと
Whatever it
妹
is,
さん
I'm
も
sure
許
your
してくれ
sister
ま
will
すよ。
forgive you. How'd you know that Nanami was my sister? In that side, the formulaic consolation she was giving me is the last thing I need right now. I'm sorry, Hazuki-san, and no one else can understand how I feel. I hated myself, I was pathetic, and nothing to take advantage of of everyone else, and only ever thought about myself. The world would be better off without me. Maybe I should just end it all.
昨日もしきりに西条さんのことを心配していましたよ。
She was very worried about you when she came in yesterday. You should just
とても可愛らしい妹さんですね。
You're the cutest little sister, don't you agree? What's she talking about?
Nanami は妹は死にました。
Nanami, my little sister is dead. She'd been kidnapped by Shogun. Her hand had been cut off, then she'd been in prison somewhere. In the end, she died all alone and afraid. When I imagined it, it felt like my heart was being torn into dozens of tiny pieces.
そうなんです
Oh
か。
my goodness, is she really?
ごめんなさい。
Forgive
勘
me,
違い
I'm
し
afraid
てし
I
ま
made
っ
a
て。
terrible mistake. All my life, I thought Nanami was annoying, although we had been siblings for 16 years. Even though she called me a jerk more times than I could count, she was always worried about me. The reason why she'd always nag me so much was because she'd been trying to help me break free of my toxic lifestyle. Whenever she'd brought me food from my parents' house, she didn't just give it to me and leave. She'd always try to share it with me. I don't know if a girl her age had an otaku freak for a brother, they'd never associate with him. And while the things she'd said didn't make her the easiest person to be around, she'd still talk to me and she would listen too. Never been at school, she never avoided me, no, she'd actually approach me. No matter what, Nanami had always treated me a vile otaku freak virgin, like her brother, like a human being. Her mere existence had helped me more than I ever knew, but realizing that did me no good now, it was too late.
でも、だと
If
し
that
たら、
truly is the
おね
case,
っ
then
てどういう意味
what
な
did
の
she
かし
mean
ら。
by big bro? Huh? I looked up, unable to properly comprehend what I just heard. As my eyes were blurry with tears, I couldn't see Hazuki-san's face properly. What had she just said?
眠ってる西条さんを、お兄、お兄と何度も呼んでいたから、その印象が強くて。
She called out to you again and again as you slept. Big bro, big bro. I would have never thought she'd be anything other than your sibling. There's only one person who called me that.
それ、
Are you
本当
telling
で
me
す
the
か？
truth? Vaulting out of my bed, I pressed Hazuki-san for an answer.
はい、
I'm sorry.
何がです？
The truth about what?
ナナミが、妹がナナミがここに来てたんですか？
Was she here?
いえ、その、
Well,
はっき
I
りお
didn't
名前
hear
を
her
聞い
name
たわけでは。
properly, so I
僕のこと、
said
お
she
兄っ
called
て
me big
呼んでたんです
bro,
ね。
ええ。
yes.
ナナミは
Where is she
今ど
now?
こに？
Where's Nanami?
ですから、
She
昨日
went
はお
home
帰りになりました
yesterday.
けど、西条さんの
She left
お母
together
様
with
と
your
一
mother.
緒に。
怪我とかしてません
Injuries?
で
Did
した
she
か？
have any injuries?
はい。
Huh? No. Nothing I could
特に
see.
は。
元気だったんですね。ナナミは元気だったんですね。
So she was okay. Nanami is okay.
はい。
Yes.
いえ、
Although I
なな
should
みさんか
clarify,
どうか
I'm
はわ
not
かり
sure
ませ
whether
んけ
or
ど、
not it was Nanami-san.
昨
The
日い
girl
らして
who
いた女
visited
の子は
yesterday was
元
doing
気そうで
just
した
fine,
よ。
yes. Nanami is alive. From everything Hazuki-san had said, it had to be true. I sat down on the bed, utterly dazed. But how? Shogun had said that he wouldn't give Nani back to me until I completed his quest. Had he just released her out of pity? Or had Nanami escaped on her own? But then how would that explain the hand that had been sent to me? According to Hazuki-san, Nanami hadn't even been injured.
もしかしたら君の家に
Did you
送
ever
ったあの
consider
手
the
首は
hand I sent
別
to
人
your
のものかも
place
しれ
was
ない。
someone else's hand? What he'd said, it hadn't been a lie. He'd played me, I'd been dancing right to his tune. Shogun had deceived me. No, that didn't matter right now.
そっ
I
か。
see. I see, so that was it. It was all coming together. Nami had never been kidnapped at all. Back when I had been at O-Front trying desperately to grab the DI sword, Nami must have been relaxing back at home reading manga, going out to karaoke with her friends, so she could show off her shitty singing voice or doing whatever else she liked to do. I was crying, but I couldn't help but laugh.
西条さん？
Nishijo-san. He got me.
将軍に
Shogun. Got me.
バト騙された。
Through and through.
なんという壮大な釣りだよ。
What unbelievably epic bait, haha. She was alive, Nani was alive. I could see that bratty ass face of hers again. I could hear that obnoxious shrill voice of hers again. The mere thought was enough to bring me to a deep sense of relief and intense joy that rose from the bottom of my heart.
よかった。
Thank God. I couldn't stop crying, but the tears weren't the tears of regret I'd been crying earlier.
よかった。
Thank God. Sob. I was an utterly useless pile of shit, but I couldn't help it. The day before I'd given up without being able to do anything. But even so, as long as Nanami was alive, I didn't wish for anything else. The whole world could mock me until the end of time for all I cared. I was overjoyed. Thank God she was safe. Whew. That was a lot of reading. I'm gonna take a chug of my Starbucks coffee. Gotta restore my blood sugar after that. Huh. All right. Oh, we're back at the detective's office. I wonder what they're going to be investigating. I wonder if it's going to be anything involving what just happened to Takumi. Another meeting had called in the main. Another meeting had been called in the main conference room in Shibuya Police Department, joining one of multiple others that had been held today. The exhausted, fed-up detectives all wondered how many more hours worth of unproductive meetings they would be forced to sit through. Matsunaga was about to start hearing the reports from each investigator when suddenly Bond hesitantly stood up and raised his hand.
ちょっといいですか
Mind
ね
if I say something?
なんだね。
What is it? Inquisitive eyes and expressions laid on Bond, not just from Matsunaga, but from Suwa, the detective sitting next to him as well. Bond smiled his usual flippant smile, quickly bowed his head, and then looked around the room.
先日
I've made
イン
a
ターネット上
small
に投稿されたいわ
discovery
ゆ
in the
る
group
集団
dive
ダイブの映
video.
像についてなんですが実はちょっとした発見をしまして
That was supposed to be the internet the other day. I wonder if it's going to be the same thing that Takumi noticed, the wheelchair.
え
Huh? Surprise in Sua's face was evident. In all likelihood, he was surprised after all. Bond had examined the video without saying a word to him. It was not because he had wanted to keep it a secret from him, however, no.
バン警部補。君は
Assistant
確
Inspector
か
Bond,
貼り
you
付
are
け
in
の
charge
捜査
of the
担当だったはずだ
crucifixion
が
case.
なぜ集団ダイブにつ
Why are
い
you
て調べ
investigating
て
the group dive? While they are related, this was the reason. Bond had disregarded the orders he had been given by his boss, the head of the investigation team. If Bond had involved Suwa, a promising new detective, his partner would have inevitably been harshly rebuked by their boss. Bond wanted to avoid this.
まあ
Well, about
とりあ
that.
えず見て
If
く
you
ださい
wouldn't mind, could I have you take a look at this? With a chuckle, Bond had got two enlarged photos from a file he held in his hand and attached them to the blackboard with magnets.
これはどっちも集
These
団
are
ダイブの
photos
現場と
taken
なっ
from the
たコーネリ
Cornelius
アスタ
Tower
ワー屋
rooftop,
上の写真です
the location where the group dive took place. Huh, there's a tall building and then there isn't?
右の写真は例の
The photo on
ニュ
the
ー
right
ス
was
で投稿映
taken
像から
from the
抜き出した
video posted on YouTube. Photo on the right was taken from the video posted on YouTube,
左の
right?
は昨日
The
の
photo on
夜
the left
私が
is
タ
one
ワ
I
ー
took
屋上
last
に行って
night
撮っ
when
て
I
きた
went to
もの
the
になります
tower rooftop.
何か
Do
違
you
いに気
notice
づきませ
anything
んか
different between the two? Yeah. Entire conference room began to stir.
背景がね違う
There
ん
was
です
something different in the backdrop.
投稿映像のカメラは北
Cameras
東
in
へ
the
向
upload
かって
footage is
る
pointing northeast.
5人が転落したのが北東だったから間違いない
The camera on the upload footage is pointing northeast. The 5 men and women did fall northeast, so that's not the issue.
で映像では3分29秒から約15秒間カメラが左右へ大きく振れるんですが
Regardless, at 3 minutes and 29 seconds of the video, For about 15 seconds, the camera swings left and right in multiple, very large motions. Now, why would it do that is a good question to be asking ourselves. The picture on the right is one taken when the camera was facing to the east. Here, we can see the East Cornelius Tower, which faces towards Roppongi, I don't know. Tokyo Tower is clearly visible in the nightscape. The red makes it stand out pretty well. But you see there's one more thing that stands out, but this time it's something that's not in the picture. Bond's eyes narrow as he combed his beard with his fingers, and then a wry smile appeared on his lips. It's Roppongi Bills? It was true, the lights of Roppongi Bills could not be seen in the photo he had taken from the upload video. But in the photo Bond had taken the day prior, the lights of Roppongi Bill's many windows were clearly visible along the Tokyo Tower. I happened to come across a few panels in the lobby of Cornelius Tower. Ones that were displaying a couple photos from back when the tower was first completed. This is one of those panels. Bond retrieved a new photo from the file and pinned it next to the previous two. It was also a picture of the Roppongi area taken from the rooftop of the tower. It was not a picture taken at night, it was one taken at day. You can see the Roppongi Bills right there. It's under construction, but a point still stands. I don't know exactly what he's talking about. I only see the difference in the big tower. I don't know if there's something else I'm supposed to be looking at. Commotion in the conference room grew even louder. Matsunaga, meanwhile, remained silent and stared at the photo with a stern expression. Cornelius Tower was completely in 2001. Roppongi Bills was completed in 2003. Huh. In the photo taken back when the tower was completed, Roppongi Bills was still under construction. And as such, it wasn't quite as tall yet. However, the year when the group dive happened was 2008. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if it wasn't there, don't you think? Roppongi Bills, that is. Oh, another thing, there were no signs of the footage being tampered with in any way. Where are you going with all this? He seemingly lost patience, the detective Matsunaga urged him onward discontently. It's hard to say, but I do have one theory. Are you saying that the video was taken before 2003? That means it was taken more than 5 years ago? Dang it, Suwa. Blonde shoulders slumped dejectedly. Young Detective's keen insight was brilliant. Suwa said exactly what Bond had intended to say. However, having said it aloud in such a straightforward manner only made the claim appear all the more dubious. Bond's careful planning on how to articulate his points had been all for nothing. That's idiotic. Someone's been reading too many detective stories. The faces of the 5 victims in the video are identical. There's no way the video was taken 5 years ago.
そんなつまらないことを調べている暇があったら聞き込みの一つでもしたらどうだ。 警部補
If you got the time to scour such trivial clues, then why don't you go do a couple eyewitness interviews, Assistant Inspector?
あ
今のは聞かなかったことにする
I'll just pretend
そ
I
れと
didn't hear that. On that
後
note,
で
I've got
話
something
があ
to
るから
talk to you
会議が
about.
終わったら残
See
りた
me
まえ
after the meeting. After letting out a short sigh, Bond gave up and sat back down. Well, it's not like I expected them to believe me. Bitter and unwilling to accept defeat, Bond muttered that inside his head before returning to listlessly fanning his face with his handheld fan. And yet, despite all the work he had done, if one were to ask what the absence of Roppongi bills in this video signified, Bond would be unable to answer. After I'd found out that Nanami was alive, the doctor came to me and asked me a few simple questions. I wanted to make sure whether or not I was well enough to leave. I answered the questions to the best of my ability, then opted to leave the hospital before my mom came back. After that disgraceful behavior had showed off in front of the entire country, how was I supposed to face my family now? And if Nanami were to come back, I knew that I'd be so happy I'd immediately burst into tears all over again. And since she wouldn't know why I was crying, Nanami would then take it seriously and start yelling at me to not worry about her. Probably while calling me an idiot too. A baka. When I thought about that, I nearly fainted from the sheer embarrassment, so instead of letting that happen, I decided to employ a strategic retreat. A nurse brought in the most disgusting breakfast of all time, and after chipping away at it slightly, I snuck out of the hospital room. I made my way down to the first floor and then into the lobby. The clinic hadn't opened yet, so the lobby that was usually packed with old people was completely deserted. I confidently walked toward the front entrance. Luckily for me, the automatic door opened and gave me a free rein to exit the building. The hospital staff might have gotten angry with me for leaving without asking them first, but I had to stay away from the hospital until everything calmed down. As for the medical fees, I left my mom a note telling her to go ahead and pay for it, so it should be fine. Despite the fact that I'd stayed overnight at the hospital, I wasn't exhibiting any actual symptoms. My mental state was doing much better after I'd learned Nanami was alive. Making sure to keep an eye out for any ambushes by Shogun or Yua, I quickly made my way back to my base. Well, now we know that Shogun isn't even like a corporeal person, or if he is, he's like, is the ability to just instantly relocate himself or something? I don't know. Evidently, he's not capable of fighting you if you felt the need to retreat like that, disappear, whatever mumbo jumbo he did. I quickly made my way back to my base. Phew. I made it back. My mental state had been done at a complete 180 since I was last been at my base. Of course, I was feeling a lot better now. If only I could have let my past self know that. You let yourself get baited far too often, mate. I rate 8 out of 8, lol, M9. There's no reason for you to get so riled up, dude. Nanami's fine, lol, fahihi. X100. Or something along those lines. Thinking back on it, yesterday really had been a living hell. Everything had just gone to shit. I got a weird phone call in the morning, then there'd been an earthquake. And the data on my hard drive had disappeared, then I had to witness Isai try to off herself right in front of me. Then I got an email from Shogun, then he sent me a severed hand. A severed goddamn hand. My mood plummeted in an instant. With a gulp, I turned my attention to the fridge. Are you even sure that was yesterday, though? That's where the hand is. Before I'd left yesterday, I decided in my maniacal state just put the hand in the fridge for the time being. If I'd left it out somewhere, it could have started rotting. The smell of blood was also way too strong for me. There's all sorts of sci-fi anime and movies where as long as they remain frozen, people would stay in this state of suspended animation for hundreds of years. So that was pretty much what I was going for. I thought that if I could keep Nanami's arm fresh, she might have been able to get it surgically reconnected when she was back home safe. Honestly, good thinking. That's actually good thinking. I don't know what I would have done with the hand. I guess I wouldn't have just thrown it out. Because, like, where the hell do you throw it? Getting surgically reconnected actually makes a lot of sense. If that was in Nanami's hand, then who the hell did it belong to? And how would that explain the cell phone and the bangle? It wasn't missing something, then it had to belong to Nanami. What if Shogun? What if Nanami is Shogun? The email said Nanami on it. Even though it's supposed to be an alias, but whatever. The hand had her phone in her bangle. Shogun uses a voice changer. So it's possible that they could actually be female. I mean, Nanami is the one who insisted that Takumi buy a phone. And what happens when he gets the phone? All this crap. Huh. Huh. You know, it'd be real crazy if Nanami is Shogun. Shogun is just a DID, an alternate identity of Takumi. What if Nanami isn't real? I mean, have you seen anyone interact with Nanami? Maybe when they bought the phone, but that could just be Takumi's mind filling in the blanks. Maybe he actually convinced himself to buy a phone. I don't know. This is the mystery. If I wasn't missing something, then it had to belong to Nanami. When I call her, it rung on the cell phone, held in the hand. Or maybe it had all just been part of Shogun's trap. Was it impossible to make such a perfect replica of Nanami's arm?
もう一度確かめて
I'll just
み
look
る
one
べ
more
きか
time,
も。
just to make sure. In truth, I really didn't want to. The entire hand thing grossed me out just thinking about it made me want to puke, even if it did belong to Nanami. But it didn't mean I could just keep it in my fridge forever, and not even my supply of cola stayed that cold in it. I considered asking the police to come take it, but then I realized they'd just suspect me being the new-gen culprit, even more than they already did, that is. It would practically be suicide to dial 110 and say, hello, yes, please come take this person's severed hands off my hand, thank you. What should I do? Should I just throw it away? Without supposing it was Nanami's arm, really, it sounded like a good idea to throw it away. Hell, were you even allowed to throw away human hands like that? Did they constitute as burnable or non-burnable trash? I tore at my hair. There was no point continuing to torture myself over it. I just go ahead and check one more time, but the bangle was on her wrist. She was holding her cell phone. Was it Nanami's or someone else's? That was a question I hope to answer. Oh, the moment of truth. I stood in front of the refrigerator and gripped the handle. I closed my eyes and then I took 1, then 2, then 3 deep breaths. Unsurprisingly, the temptation to just call Remy and ask her to do it for me crept up into my mind, but I quickly shook it away. No matter how good of an ally Remy was to me, there's no way she wouldn't freak out upon finding someone's hand in my fridge. And then if I managed to fuck up the explanation, she'd fall out of love with me and then turn me into the police. I was gonna have to do this on my own somehow.
くそ。
Fuck. I clenched my teeth, took 2 more breaths. And then I yanked on the handle with all my might. Nothing. What? It was empty, entirely empty. I thought for sure that I put the hand in there yesterday. It had been wrapped in aluminum foil. It should have been on the top shelf. And yet there's no sign of it. All there was a few balls of coal and a bunch of rotten clementines. Nothing else.
消えた。
It's gone.
なんで
How? Just like that, it was completely gone. I crouched down and looked farther into the refrigerator, but of course it still wasn't there. There wasn't much in there to begin with, so it was already practically empty. There's no way I could have missed it.
昨日ここに入れたよ
I
な
put it in here yesterday, didn't I? Or maybe I just assumed that in reality I just left it somewhere. I closed the fridge door, then looked around my trash-filled room.
段ボールもない
The cardboard box is gone too. Large cardboard box with a hand inside of it. What had I done with it? I felt like I tossed it in the corner of my room or something, but either my memory of last night is very unclear. More things that happened yesterday than my poor brain could handle. Everything was made all the more brutal due to the other chaos of it all. Calm down, just calm down and get your thoughts together. Think of why it might have disappeared. Boot the word processor on my PC and wrote down all the possibilities I could think of. Reasons why the hand disappeared. My mistake, I put it somewhere else in my room. I myself took it outside yesterday and threw it away somewhere. Shogun took it back. The police searched my house and confiscated it. The mass media broke in and stole it. Hand never existed in the first place. My base had been unlocked ever since yesterday, so if someone really wanted to, they could have come right and taken it without much trouble. That'd also be consistent with how Shogun had been able to put that hand in my room in the first place. Or maybe it was number 2. My memory of when I left my base to go to O-Front was unclear. A feeling that I had to save on me. Seeing this severed hand, how terrified I was of Shogun, all his emotions swirled around me, invading each and every corner of my mind. I couldn't calm down at all. And I just left my base and tossed a hand into a dumpster somewhere without knowing it. I mean, the whole hand thing in general had just been a delusion. It hadn't actually existed at all. When I went to check my email, I found the one I got from Shogun yesterday did in fact exist. In that email, it clearly stated that the hand was a present. Not to mention that Shogun himself had talked about it yesterday. I just couldn't believe that it'd just been a delusion. Okay then, what about the possibility that the police or the media took it? Those people looked out talker freaks like we're no better than shit smeared on the bottom of their shoes, so it wouldn't surprise me. Of everything that happened yesterday, I was afraid to look at the internet, and yet in the end I couldn't help myself, so I clicked open my browser. First I checked the news section on Taboo, as well as the news sites I would typically go to. Is the radio wave hijacking Esper just a boy who cried wolf? The ESP show, held by a new generation boy, ended in the worst possible way. Response to the seismic 5 intensity earthquake that struck at noon in October, including MHK, BTS, and TV Sunset broadcast. Esper starting at 9 p.m. following. The disappointing end to the... Okay. And sure enough, there are articles upon the uproar yesterday at Scramble Crossing. Simultaneous coverage both earthquake and the Esper show starting at 9 p.m. Following this, the two stations were immediately flooded with call after call protesting this decision. When faced with a disappointing end to the show, nearly 5,000 fans had been crowded in front of tribute station and had all began to boo loudly for over an hour, with some fans even fighting among the stalls. The situation resulted in 13 separate arrests. The commotion began with a prank email sent by a boy hereby referred to as N, living in Shibuya Ward. At first, living in Shibuya Ward. At first, news stations were skeptical of the email, which claimed that the boy was a clairvoyant Esper who could see the culprit behind the new generation madness, the popular name for a series of brutal incidents taking place in Shibuya. However, when American psychic detective Yuri Brightman, age 43, informed that Today TV and Fuji-Sun TV that he'd be willing to become the boy's legal... Informed Today TV and Fuji-Sun TV that he would be willing to become the boy's legal guardian? Both stations immediately took him at his word, so the story goes. The ratings for both Today TV and Fuji-Sun TV were extraordinary, the high simultaneous viewership exceeding 40%. These are astonishing figures, surpassing even that of Kohaku ringing in the new year. Although these figures may only be for the simultaneous broadcast with the earthquake report, the broadcast was obviously a huge success in terms of viewership. However, the boy starring the show N did not turn out to be an Esper. He repeatedly riled up the audience by motioning like he was going to jump off the building, but his performance did not extend beyond that. Undeterred, the media companies dared to go up to the rooftop to report the situation, attempt to comment about the new generation incidents, but they were unsuccessful. The boy was found collapsed on the rooftop holding a moe anime figure in a costume from a popular Hollywood film. According to otaku culture expert Professor Hashiba Yoshiro of Meisei University, there's a rapid increase in the number of young people who dream of becoming heroes. When they pursue this dream, act with no regard to the world around them. Under the influence of anime, video games, and other similarly damaging media, they have lost the ability to distinguish between fantasy and reality. This is likely what's causing them to act in such a way that requires psychological care. So is that what's happening in this game? You just watched too much anime and played too much ESO, and then you couldn't distinguish between fantasy and reality? But that wouldn't explain why Bon was able to see the DI sword on the camera. That wouldn't explain the massive, like, ear ringing that the headache that everyone got in the earthquake. That wouldn't explain New Gen at all. I haven't sent any emails to the media. I never even seen Yuri Brightman's show, let alone met him. So what the hell? Is this all just a part of Shogun's plan, like I originally thought? What was his ultimate goal here? He said something about it being a quest or something. Okay, then what's the point of having the mass media televised and trying to get my hands on a sword? I didn't get it. Was Shogun trying to accomplish? I didn't get it. What was Shogun trying to accomplish? He'd even realized Nanami alive. He released Nanami alive. I followed the links to various articles, but even after reading through all of them, not a single one of them mentioned Shogun. There had been practically no gap at all between when I tackled Shogun and when the media came bursting onto the rooftop. Even if Shogun had managed to escape during that window, the media would have seen him. And not only that, but Shogun was supposed to be stuck in a wheelchair. He was supposed to be paralyzed. There's absolutely no way he could have been able to escape the rooftop in such a limited time frame. I went on to check @channel. To no one's surprise, a shitstorm was going on. My real name was being plastered everywhere. Esper that took over the airways, now the nerd who cried wolf. The uniform that Nishijo dumbass was rocking is from Suime, isn't it? Are there any Suime students in this thread right now? That guy is a terminal fucktard. Do us all a favor and offer yourself a piece of human trash. Oh my god. Nishijo, you need to chill the fuck out. Fuck's sake. It'll be your fault if otaku start getting beat up again. Found him carrying a figure, lol. Is a goddamn Sarah Bloodtooth figure? Lamau. What the fuck? And just like that, otaku freaks around the world all to shed a tear. This Nishijo fucker should have just stayed inside like the shut-in he is. TV's not for him, lol. Sarah would be like, Nishijo, you big dum-dum. Time for me to kick your fat butt with my awakened form rocket body blow attack. Old some rando who was a classmate of his last year already came out and doxed the guy. What?
鬱だ。
I can't do this. Everyone was just saying whatever the hell they wanted to. They weren't even considering how I felt as they talked all this shit about me. Having @channel as your enemy is a scary thing. And it was all Shogun's fault I was in this mess. I was wondering if anybody leaked sensitive information on @channels, stuff that couldn't be aired on TV, but I couldn't find anything that fit that criteria. I hadn't been alone on that rooftop. There had been one more person yet. Not one shred of information has come out about them. It was almost like... No, it's almost like the being of a Shogun had never been there in the first place. Maybe the Shogun that appeared on the rooftop was just an illusion. Maybe even if I know for a fact that he exists, there's a possibility that the Shogun I saw at O front was just a delusion I created.
僕はやっぱり
I
病
think
気
I'm
な
losing
の
my
かも。
mind. There's so many things happening that shouldn't have been possible in real life. It was more like a video game at this point. There were two worlds, one where Nanami was alive and one where she was dead. And the two options were running parallel to one another, meaning I got to choose between them, just like a choice you'd find in an arrogate. The future was divided into countless different branches, and what made me different from normal people is that I could simulate what story events might occur using my delusions. And I was in the middle of simulating the route that would lead to the bad ending. Oh, is this where I get the delusion trigger now? The ZRC delusion trigger? You can change the ending. Like one where Nanami died, or one where ISA jumped to her death. One where I fell off O-front and died. In other words, for some reason, all these things that you normally find in the bad ending route could be coming after me, almost like they're hunting me down due to a trap I myself had set. Maybe I just had the desire to leave behind my boring, uneventful life and go to a more exciting world, like one from a game. And because of that, I've been unconsciously showing myself what that would look like. That couldn't be it. I didn't have any desires even remotely like that. At the very least, I would never want to make myself go through anything that would make me feel sad or scared, simulation or not.
っていうか、どれだけ想像力豊かなんだよ。
Besides, the power of imagination can only take you so far. What I've been considering is nothing more than some childish bullshit delusion I come up without thinking. I sighed, leaned back in my chair and looked up at the ceiling with a blank stare on my face. Reality isn't set in stone. Anything and everything just felt fake. The world I was living in was completely hollow. New Gen 6 case confirmed woman in her 20s found dead in Shibuya River of Shibuya Ward. Oh no. After consuming the flesh of her own right hand and choking on a bone that lodged itself in her throat.
今日午後8時ごろ、渋谷区の渋谷川
8
で
p.m. the body
女
was
性の
found
変
dead
死
in
体が
Shibuya
発見されまし
River
た。
of Shibuya Ward.
被害者は江戸川区に住む
The
十勝
27-year-old
彩美さん
Takashi
27歳で
Ayami-san of
死因は
Edagawa
喉を
Ward
詰まら
was
せたこと
died of
による
choking
窒息
induced
死とみられています。
asphyxiation.
警察の調べによりますと、被害者の右手の肉
According
が
to the
削り取
investigation,
ら
the
れ
flesh
て
of the
骨
victim's
が
right
露出
hand
し
had
て
been
おり、
scraped off,
また
exposing the
胃の
bone,
中からは
and what
人
appeared
間の
to be
肉とみ
human
られる
flesh
内
was
容物
found
が
in
見
the
つかりま
victim's
した。
stomach.
被害者は自らの
The
右
victim
手
was
を噛み
believed
ち
to
ぎっ
have
て食べ
chewed
たとみら
apart
れ、
and eaten her
また
own right
足
hand,
首が
as
紐で
well as
縛
as
られ
her
ていたとの
ankles
こ
were
とで
bound
す。
together by string.
警察では
The police
自
are currently
殺、他
investigating
殺の両面から
This
捜査を
incident
進
is both
め
a
ています。
suicide and a homicide. Finger food. Okay, that's pretty clever. Ever since the seismic intensity 5 earthquake, the city of Shibuya had been overwrought with an air of pure bloodlust. What if... What if, here's the thing. Shogun isn't killing any of these people. What if Shogun... Because, okay, all the others that are just found, right? Like, the finger food, police found it, or someone found it and they reported it to the police. Same with Numbskull, same with Vampire, same with Crucifixion, same with Manchild. Group Dive was the only one that Shogun recorded. So here's the thing. What if these people are all just killing themselves or killing each other because of the high biorhythms? Because of the magnetic EM shit, whatever. But Shogun himself was not doing it to them. Shogun is simply from the future, as the game has said, and is telling Nishijo about this stuff so that he can prevent it. And when Shogun was on the top of the tower telling Nishijo to find his DI sword or Nanami will die, What he didn't mean that Shogun was going to kill Nanami, but the biorhythms, or whatever is causing all the other incidents, is going to kill Nanami. And Shogun was trying to get Nishijo to get his DI sword as quick as possible. That way, he could prevent Nanami's death. But Shogun was not going to be the one to do it, and he's also not the one responsible for it. But he's not lying when he says that Nanami was going to die if he didn't find his sword. Okay, sense of order in the city had been visibly deteriorating. This decrease in security was not just regarding fights among young people, but the increasing number of store windows being broken, as well as a large surge in theft. Likely biorhythms, if I had to guess. The media continued to use the term new generation or to establish a feeling of crisis and entrapment. In response to such a fear-mongering, a handful of stores had abruptly ceased operations. In addition, a group calling themselves the Anti-New Gen has suddenly transformed into a riotous mob during one of their weekly demonstrations, charging the Shibuya police station, resulting in the arrest of over 100 people. Much like the Esper Boy riot, thousands upon thousands of curious onlookers gathered into the area in order to enjoy yet another shitstorm. There was a striking difference in the excitement between those who were visiting the city and those who had lived in it. The former expected to be more brutally eventful than ever, while the latter condemned the lawlessness of their home and insisted on straightening the police authority. Okay, the former and the latter. Who was the former and which one's the latter? Those who are visiting, those who lived. Okay, visiting is former. While people who have been there for a long time want to straighten out the police. But people who are newly visiting wanted brutality. Then, as if to mock all the uproar, the 6th New Gen incident occurred, and of course the perpetrator had yet to be apprehended. It's been a week since the earthquake. In that period of time, I'd been suspended from school. Even if I hadn't been suspended, I wouldn't have been in the proper mental state to go to school anyways. The day immediately following the earthquake, another New Gen incident had occurred. The incident, just like the murder of Dr. Takashino, is obviously supposed to send a message to me. There's a woman who bitten off her own right hand. There's no doubt in my mind that it's supposed to allude to Nanami's severed right hand. Nanami is clear bait from Shogun to lure me out, but even though I knew that, the thought that Nanami could have been the one killed sent shivers down my spine. And since I'd become famous in Shibuya in the worst sense of the word, I was now terrified of going out more than ever. If I had a hole to crawl into, I would have done it with no hesitation. Even going to the convenience store to buy food for myself killed me, and there have been entire days of going without eating. It was impossible for me to walk outside with my head not glued to the ground. It was like someone was laughing at me. The gazes of other people terrified me. I didn't want to talk to anyone, to see anyone. People from the mass media had been trying to bother me constantly, but I ignored every single one of them. I hadn't called my parents, nor had I talked to Nanami. I hadn't been playing ESO either. If it somehow got out that I was Nineheart, I would absolutely be fucked. It had been 1 week now. Was that enough time for everything to cool down? People always say, oh, they'll forget about it in a month, but hopefully it didn't actually take that long. And I mean, trends did go by extremely quickly these days. The slang people use would become obsolete in the next year. Even net slang and memes that people use online died out in just a couple of months. Television sought out heroes, idols, villains, or whatever else that would excite the public, and as soon as it found them, it would consume them for all their worth and promptly discard them. Even the New Gen cases, which I've been going for 6 cases now, are quieting down. No one talks about the first case on the channel anymore. Everything faded from people's memories in the blink of an eye. Which is why I was hoping that in the past week, everything that had happened to me had already faded from the public consciousness, just like some passing trend. Even if it was just wishful thinking, I couldn't help but hope that might be true. Be right back. I'm going to do something real quick. Okay, maybe not. It was just wishful thinking and couldn't help but hope that it might be true. My head and stomach started to pang. I sat down on my usual bench and calmed myself down. Serotonin would know what to say right now.
そんなに苦しむぐらいならもう学校になんか行くのやめればいいっしょ。
It's causing you so much pain, you should just stop going to school, don't you think? I was at the point where I was starting to consider it. I mean, due to the worsening security, more and more people had been opting out of school and should be awarded, so it wouldn't just be me. I always thought that it made no difference whether or not I graduated so much that I'd be willing to drop out of school right now. Despite that, I still plan to continue going, even risking running into Yua. I gulped down a cola, I'd buy a vending machine on the way to the park, then step on the bench. Does this guy drink anything that's not cola? I don't even know how he doesn't have diabetes yet. I should just stop kidding myself. I didn't want to go to school. But I didn't want to quit it either. Because if I quit school, I wouldn't be able to see Remy anymore. Or classmates, so as long as I kept going to school, I'd be able to see without going out of my way to do so. If I had lost that, I could always just call her or go meet with her directly, but like I said, that would mean I'd have to go out of my way to contact her. I knew for a fact I couldn't do that. In fact, I already hadn't been able to bring myself to see her for a while now.
私が一緒にいてあげる。
I'll stay by your side. That was what Remy had promised me. And I hadn't heard from her for over 10 days now, not a single word. Thought that Remy, my one and only ally, might have fallen out of love with me after seeing my disgusting behavior on TV. It destroyed me. I was terrified. I felt like crying. I never felt so alone. No one, not even non-me, had come to see me. I was being subjected to threat after threat of endless slander on the internet. I was scared shitless by even the idea of Shogun and Yua. And while I'd said before that I didn't want to see anyone, the loneliness was eating away at me. I wanted Remy to come and see me. I wanted her to hug me gently and tell me it would all be okay. It would have been so hard, but I'm here now, she would say. In the end, Remy had spoiled me rotten. She wasn't in the wrong for doing so. Remy had taught me the warmth that 3D could have. And now that I knew what the warmth felt like, I had never stopped wishing for it ever since. I couldn't get that kind of peace from 2D or delusions anymore. I couldn't survive on just my delusions. Okay, now I'll be right back. I couldn't get that kind of peace from 2D or delusions anymore. I couldn't survive on just my delusions. I wanted to see her. When I passed through the school gate, I hadn't noticed any particular change in the atmosphere. That is to say, no one had noticed me. I entered the building and started up the stairs. A girl I didn't recognize went to pass me, but just before she did, she let out an audible awe and looked at me with pity in her eyes. I walked in the hallway where my classroom was located. Several windows were broken. I could feel those gazes mercilessly burning through me as they whispered. At that moment, I was hit with a very bad feeling. My wishful thinking was already on the verge of shattering to pieces. Even so, I opened the door to my classroom, fueled by one desire to see Remy. Silence lasted for about 10 seconds. Everyone was frozen. They all stared at me. I kept my head down as I walked through the quieted classroom and took my seat. As if on cue, a Do Kyun sitting in the last row, whose name I didn't know, spoke up.
おい西条超能力見せてくんね
Oh man, yo Nishijo, care to show us your psychic powers? You know, those two sentences, time started moving again in the classroom. Ah. Why are you even bothering? He's just an attention whore.
だってユーリが認めた
You
男
think
なんだ
so?
ぜ
Didn't Yuri say he was legit?
そうそう俺テレビ見てたぜすげえよあのやらせ
Right,
超能
right. How
力
can I
者
forget the Yuri guy seen on TV before? Real Austin showing all, but his psychic powers are all total
西
bullshit.
条もどうせやらせなんでしょ
Yeah, so Nishijo would have to be a fake too,
大
right?
きい人形と小さいお人形を抱えてただけだもんね
All he knows is how to bang his blow-up doll in this small plastic one. Haha.
やめとけって
Come on.
西条は病気なだけだっつうのそっとしといてやれ
Lay off. Nishijo's just R-worded. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that anymore. That's all. So be nice.
だってあいつ空飛べるらしいじゃんあとなんだっけ投資
I heard that he can fly and that he's got this other power. What's it called? Clairvoyance or something?
私投資されたらどうしよう服もスケスケで裸見られる
Oh god, what if he used that on me? He'd see right through my clothes. Oh my god.
西条変態じゃん
Nishijo, you're such a perv. Etchy.
おやっべこっち見た
he's looking
石にされる前に目をするぜ
Quick look away before you turn to stone.
大丈夫
No, don't
実際
worry
のとこ
about
ろ
it.
ただのキモートだから
He's just some otaku freak. He can't hurt us. Dear God. This is hell. It really is. This is exactly what I fear the most. The Dokuans had their eyes on me now. It had been a week, but no one had forgotten about the uproar I caused. I was now the laughingstock of Japan. The boy who, after trying to show off his special powers to the masses, went home and slept with a figure. There's no point in protesting, saying that I had never called myself an Esper. The truth was meaningless now. Right now, the truth was just one story that everyone in Japan is familiar with. The story that tens of millions of people recognize to be the truth. There's no fixing that. No one could. Not me, not anyone on TV, not even Shogun. I was a self-proclaimed Esper who no one would ever associate with. I was an absolutely revolting male otaku, the biggest freak anyone had ever seen. Not a single person would ever look at me with anything other than disgust. I always hated TV shows that made fun of otakus, and now I'm just add fuel to the fire. I didn't have any psychic abilities. I couldn't fly. I didn't have clairvoyance. I didn't have telekinesis. I couldn't obtain a DI sword. I didn't give up on trying to save my sister just so I could save myself, just like the complete POS I was. I was just an otaku that had nothing to do. He had nothing to show for his life other than his knowledge of anime, video games, or whatever other media, so it only made sense that I couldn't do it. I fought off my imminent mental breakdown and searched my savior, Remy. And when I did, my eyes at Mizumi-kun's. Only for him, what? Oh no, don't tell me he doesn't talk to you either. Immediately look away. I guess that was only fair. if you hung out with me, the entire class would shun you too. That was why I looked away. It was only natural. Besides, he and I has always lived in two different worlds. I was an otaku and he was a total alpha male. It was a marvel that we had ever been friends at all. Feeling like I was on the verge of tears, I went back to scanning the room, as if for anything I could latch onto. I desperately cried out in my mind for Remy, but she wasn't there. Remy was nowhere to be found. Why? Why was she just absent? Of all times for her to be gone, why now? I didn't have any way to get a hold of her. What if she never came to school again? If that happened, I would likely never see her again for the rest of my life. That was the feeling I got. It was like that when she first appeared too. Back in the first day I saw her at school, Remy was suddenly in my class just like that, and now she disappeared just as quickly. Could she have gone caught up in the earthquake? Could she be dead? I tried my best to shake off all those negative thoughts, but it was hopeless. I was just getting more and more depressed. Now my mind was being overwhelmed by an incredibly dark and foreboding delusion. I was starting to wonder if the girl known as Sakihata Remy had ever existed at all. Maybe she was just another personality I created inside my delusions like Serotonin. When I thought of it like that, it all started to make sense. Whenever I needed help, Remy always came to my rescue like a knight in shining armor. Whenever everyone else would treat an otaku freak like me like trash, Remy would treat me with kindness. So here's the thing. When Remy first appeared as a friend for Nishijo, Takumi had no memories of Remy, but everyone else did. Similarly, with the flower bed situation, Takumi had no memories of the flower bed, but everyone else did. It's possible he created Remy, and it became accepted as reality. Had I seriously believed that there was a 3D girl that was just so damn perfect for me, someone that pretty, someone that was pretty much my dream girl, I had no reason to come to school anymore. I had one only reason to go. I really was completely alone, just like I'd always been. I'd always been completely and utterly alone. I started to cry inside my head. It took everything I had just to keep myself from crying in real life. That was all I could do to try and at least maintain some semblance of pride. That was all it was, a semblance. I tried as hard as I could to keep my head down, grit my teeth, and stay in my seat. Even though I didn't want to hear that, I could hear all my classmates talking. I wanted to run away, but I was too afraid that would only make things worse. Every last one of you should just die. I had nothing left to lose, so why not just die doing what I love to the very end? I killed all the Dokuin bastards in my head in an attempt to relieve my anger, but I wasn't going to reverse the humiliation. Not only that, but the Dokuins from earlier were still harassing me, their obnoxious voices echoing throughout the classroom.
お前なんで死なないの
Hey, why don't you just die? Oh
生
my,
きてんのきつくね
living is really, really hard, right?
俺ら手伝ってやろう
I
か
want to lend you a hand. Dear God. I covered my ears, tried desperately to put up with it. I wanted to kill them. I wanted to tear every last one of them to shreds with my DI sword. I imagined my sword cracking their skulls open, gouging out their eyes and ripping their bodies in half. Die, 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 die. I didn't have a DI sword, but I could buy a long kitchen knife anywhere. I wanted to crush these maggots with my own two hands. The more I thought about it, the more I felt the urge to do it. Maybe the moment I did something reckless like that, the simulation of the bad end would... Maybe the moment I did something reckless like that, the simulation of the bad end would end, and the world would then reset. I would then return to the original world and I could make different choices. Do you see? Okay, that's not doing anything. Remy would be there. Mishimi-kun would be talking to me in his normal, overly friendly manner. Everyone would have completely forgotten about my shameful behavior. No one would be making fun of me. Maybe I should try it. The center of my head felt fuzzy. I felt kind of feverish. What was this? That fever you got for obtaining some new knowledge or power? Or just some delusional fever? I didn't have a specific name for if it was. Well, not like it mattered. Maybe I should try it. If I couldn't return to the original world, people would just think I was crazy, you know? They probably already thought that, so it really didn't matter. It wasn't like I had anything to lose. A week ago, back when the nurse told me that Nanami is still alive, I thought that as long as Nanami is alive, nothing else mattered. Even my life didn't matter. I didn't care if I was treated like some freak and sent to the nearest hospital. It would be nice if I'd end up in the same one as ISA, where an ISA had been admitted to, I wondered. Was it that penitentiary-like hospital that she used to be in? Even that would be fine. Hell, that would even be slightly better than being in this school without Remy. The urges within me bubbled like magma. I could no longer control them. I slowly stood up. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Everyone in the classroom stared at me, and their expressions stiffened. Don't look. There's no reason to look at a worthless piece of shit like me. No, you have suddenly all sorts of work. I heard a girl's voice. Whole bunch of it. Not only that, but it sounded straight out of an anime.
この前飛び降り自殺をしようとした人を助けたのは西条くんだもん。
Who's the one who saved the girl who tried to kill herself by jumping off the rooftop? You, Nisha.
だから西条くんにはたくさん価値はあるよ。
Which is why you have tons and tons of worth, Nishijoken. Who the hell is talking to me? I looked around the room one more time. Everyone's all frozen in place due to my odd behavior, but they all kept their mouths shut. I couldn't find a single human being who was talking. That voice was such a strange sensation. It felt like it was coming from directly inside my head. Was it an illusion, or had I just cracked yet another delusional girl inside my head? It's not an illusion at all, Steins. Not a delusion either. Oh, what was that? Well, just now. Respond to my thoughts. Something reading my mind? Someone reading my mind. No, it had to be a delusion. Kozupi is right here. Who's Kozupi?
コズピってなんだよ。
How's it Kozupi?
ここってどこ？
Where is here?
誰なの？
Who are you? When I shouted, my classmates moved farther from me, almost like they were trying to run away in fear. You said you were worthless, you joking. But Kozuki knows that's wrong. Super duper wrong. The voice didn't answer my question. All the voice does continued to talk to me in a really strange way. Instead, all the other people in the classroom, the ones that talk all bad about Nishijoku, they're the ones that are worthless. A shudder ran through me, goosebumps sprang up on my skin. In a extremely cheerful tone, the voice then said, Kozupi thinks he's... Killing them would be a good thing. Ooh. Please, no more. I cowered in my seat, craning my head in my hands. The world hadn't reset, I hadn't returned to the parallel world where Remy was. The world exists, space-time exists the same dimensions world we live in some cases the location of people and other things residing are completely identical. Rather, it was like I'd gone completely and utterly crazy. It was been a week since Bond had last visited the Frisia office and things were a little bit different than he remembered. The seas of papers that had been piled high atop each and every desk were now completely absent. They had likely all come crashing down due to the earthquake, and Mama Say had ordered it to be cleaned up. Because of this, the place looked quite tidy. Staring at it with a sidelong look, Bond let out a sigh and then sat down on an office chair he had wheeled out from beneath the desk. He restlessly fanned his face with his favorite handheld fan. I feel like they say that every time Bond is in a scene ever. He whips out his handheld fan. Mama Say, who had been tapping away at her laptop's keyboard on her desk, took one look at Bond's dismal appearance and scowl.
なーに
What?
来るなりため息
Come
なん
in
て
to
つい
sigh
て
at me?
ああ
Hey,
ももちゃん
Mama-chan.
何にもないと
Have
こ
you
から
ever seen a
剣
magic
が出て
trick
くる
where
っ
a
て手
sword
品
pops
見たこと
straight
あ
out
る
of thin air?
さあ
Huh?
手品なんて詳しくないか
Guess
ら
I'm all too familiar with magic.
じゃあ
Alright then.
瞬間
What
移動
about the teleportation? What about
箱の中
teleportation?
に入ってとかそういうこと
What, like something teleporting into a box?
いや
No.
そうじゃなくて
Not quite.
一体何が言いたいわけ
And what on earth are you
宴会芸でも
getting
覚え
at?
たい
Are
の
you trying to pick up some new party trick?
わかんない
No, you don't really need to
多分
know.
関
It's
係ないこ
probably
とだ
got
から
nothing to do with you.
変な人ね
You're a real piece of work, you know that. Momose shrugged her shoulders and took a bite out of the Kintsuba pastry Bon had offered her.
どうぞお茶っす
Order up, piping hot tea. Sua brought over 2 paper cups, steam billowed from the green tea that had been poured into them.
あら悪いわねスバちゃ
Oh,
ん
forgive me
お
for
茶
making
組
you
なん
grab
て
the
させ
tea,
ちゃっ
bro,
て
Sua-chan.
今日美穂ちゃん風邪で休んでて
Miho-chan came down at the cold and was taking the day off.
いや大丈夫っす
Nah, it's all good. The cheerful smile on his face began Momose and Bon each a paper cup. Sua had been taken to the office once before by Bon while they were on another case, or since then Sua had come to look up to Momose as his mentor rather than his more direct superior Bon. Momose had also seemed to enjoy Sua's company, and she tended to speak to the young, honest man with far kinder language than she did Bon.
それより何の話してたんすか
Now refreshments are taken care of. What were you two talking about?
どうやったら不敬に受
I
け
was
る
asking
宴
how I
会
get
芸を
smart in the
覚えら
field
れる
of
か
party
って
tricks,
そ
you
うだ
know,
な
to impress the local policewoman.
は
Sigh.
あそりゃ
Wow.
興味深いっす
Can't believe I missed that.
スワちゃんこんなダメ刑事なんか
You
と
know
いつまでもつるんでちゃダメ
you
よ
can't hang around such an awful
もっ
detective
と
forever.
優秀な上司につくのおすすめするわ
You really should try and fix yourself up with a better superior.
でないとあなたの出
If
世
you don't,
街道
your
が
path
立た
to
っちゃう
successful instead send you careening straight off the cliff.
まるで俺が出世絶望的
I
み
think
て
it
えな
sounds
言い
like
方
I'm
だな
dooming the kid.
事実でしょ
Yes, that's the
悔
point.
しかったらもっと真面目に
If
仕
you
事
don't
しな
like
さ
it,
い
then try treating your job more seriously.
してるんだがな
It's certainly not for a lack of trying. Ignoring Bond's frown of disagreement, Momose held out the box of Kintsuba to
ス
Sua.
ワちゃんも食べて
Take a couple, Sua-chan.
あどうもっす
Oh, thanks,
言
Miss.
っとくがそれは俺
Just
が
so you
自
know,
腹
I
で買っ
bought
てき
those
たもんだ
with
ぞ
my own money.
先輩いただきます
Well then, sir, thanks for treating me. When he saw his subordinate bow his head and reach for Kintsuba, Bond let out yet another sigh.
それより二人ともこれを見
Tea
て
time aside, I need you to look over here. A line graph appearing on the laptop screen had gently undulating curve that rose and fell like a tide. Sua, who had circled around behind Bond, peered at the graph and cocked his
これ
head.
何のグラフっすか
What's with the graph?
ここ1年の渋谷
It's a
近辺の
G
G レー
rate,
ト
the
よ
general Shibuya area of the past year.
おかしいと思わない
Don't you think it's odd?
渋谷の平均 G レートが世
Aren't you
界
the one
的
who
に見て
told us the average G
高い
rate
って
in Shibuya
も
is
もちゃ
higher
んに教
than
えてもらったん
the
だ
rest of the world?
そうじゃなくて
That's not what I'm referring to.
気のせいかもしれないけど
I'm not sure if
G
it's been
rate が
my
何
leg
者かに
tricks on me.
操作されてるような
feeling
気がす
someone's
るの
manipulating the G rate.
そんなことできるんすか
How the heck that's possible?
さ
Not sure.
Then graph
When I look at the graph, I just can't shake the feeling that there's something
なん
unnatural going on here.
あ数値が小刻みに変動
Numbers
しすぎて
fluctuate far too much in these small increments.
10年ぐらい前まで遡って調べてみた
I
んだ
went
けど
back about 10 years to
ここ
investigate.
5
It's
年
only
くらい
been
は
doing this
ずっ
for
とそんな
around the
調子
past
なんだ
5 years or so. 5 years. That's the same time that the group dive happened. Am I wrong?
前に
I
太
think
田教授
Professor
だった
Ota
か
said something about
この
that.
人が言ってた
What was it? What was it?
G レートが半年前から増加してるとか
Wasn't it something about how the G rate's been increasing like mad over the past 6 months? How could that have had something to do with it?
太田教授の調査では G レートはそんなに細かい変動は起こさないということなの。
何らかの異常が
So you're saying there's some kind of anomaly other
人
than
為的なものを
that going on. You got a hunch that's man-made.
でも5年っすよ。
But it's been 5
こ
years,
れだけ
right?
続いてれば
If it's
異
been
常
that
じゃなく
long,
て正常な
wouldn't that make it more normal than abnormal?
もう一つある。
There's one more
グ
thing.
ラフを細かく調べていくと
Examine the graph.
G レー
in
ト
detail.
は毎
You'll
週
notice
末
that
に
G
減る
rate
傾向
tends
に
to
ある。
increase every weekend.
週休2日のサラリ
You
ー
know,
マンにはあ
God
り
sent
が
for
たい
this
こ
this
とだ
man who've got 2 days off
俺
a
には
week.
関係ねえけど
Doesn't help me much though.
ああ、土日に休み欲しい
It'd
っす
sure be nice to
ね。
have the
自
weekends
分
off.
もう2ヶ月休みなしっす
I
よ。
had a day off for 2 months now. The two dejected detectives hung their heads, to which Mom Say responded with a curt shake of her
茶化
head.
してる場合じゃないわ。
Focus, boys. There's no time to be fooling
1週
around.
間ごとに定
Anyways,
期
the
的に
line
変動してるの
fluctuates
よ。
at fixed intervals
しかも
every week.
年末年
As
始や
soon
お
as the
盆
New
休
Year's
みと
vacation,
変動
the
が
Bond
ピタリ。
Festival, or other similar holidays come by, the fluctuations stop right on the dot.
何かの意志が働いているとしか
I
思え
can't
ない。
help but think it's the will of man at play here.
年末年始やお盆休み
I
は
suppose humans are the only ones who have New Year's, the Bond Festival, the like off.
動物や植物は
Plants
そん
and
なもん
animals don't tend to take holidays.
実は地球
Maybe
の意
it's
志
the
と
will of the earth,
地球の意
the
志
will of the earth. Now,
随分壮大な話だ
ain't
な
that a good one?
だがもし仮
If
に
such
そ
a
んな
thing
ものがあ
was
った
at
とし
play,
て
why would the
地球
earth
が
be
明けま
out
しておめ
here
でとうとか言う
wishing us a happy new year?
冗談っす。
I wasn't being serious.
年末年始はともかく
We
お
disregard
盆
New
休みは日
Year's
本
for
にしかない
letting the
風習
Bond
よね。
Festival entirely Japanese custom.
日本人の社会
They're
活
saying
動
the G rate synchronizes with Japanese social activities.
渋谷っすから。
That makes sense. It should be the same way, right?
ちなみにここと、
And take a look here
Mite.
and here. I want to say first point at the center of the line graph, and then to the right where the most recent date was
この
situated.
2箇所はすごく
Those
伸
two
びているでしょう。
areas are awfully high, aren't they?
一番右
The
は
rightmost one looks like it's set in a new record.
1年どころか
It's
こ
not
の
just
10
the
年
past
最
year,
高
but
よ。
the past 10 years.
日付は
And what are the dates?
真ん中は3ヶ月前。
The middle one was 3 months ago. Remember this one?
小さな地震があったでしょう。
At the time,
ああ震度3でまず
seismic
8
test
人
318
が
people died in it, November 3rd.
あの犠牲者って
Are they
なん
ever
で死ん
able
だ
to
の
pin
か
down
理
the
由はまだ特定
specific
できてな
cause
いん
of
じゃなか
death
った
or the victims?
さあ、そうでしたっけ？
I don't know, did they? Ignoring the exchange between the two detectives, Mosley continued talking.
で一番
As I
右
was
は
saying, the
こ
rightmost
の
one
間
was
の
the
地
day
震の
of the
日。
earthquake.
お
Oh,
あの日大規模
soon
な
we
電
heard
磁
about
波
the
が発生した
large-scale
のは知ってるわ
electromagnetic
よね。
waves that were given off on that day.
渋谷中のコンピューターが壊れたらしいな俺はアナログ人間だからよくわからんが
I've heard through the grapevine that all the computers in Shibuya were completely done in, but I know tech stuff's Greek to me.
自分も自宅のノーパソ
Since
が
the
やられたっ
laptop
す。
I keep at home's been
普及し
shot.
てる暇がない。
Haven't had time to restore it.
あれは地震の影響で
They
電
said the
磁波が
earthquake
起きたっ
caused
て
the
言われてるけど
electromagnetic waves.
真
but
相は
the truth
全
may
く
be
逆かもしれない。
complete opposite.
電磁波の影響で
Electromagnetic
地
waves
震が起きた。
caused the earthquake.
おいおいそんなことテレビや新聞じゃ言ってなかったぞ
Well, they didn't say anything like that on TV or in the papers. Hold on, that actually makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense, because if there's a magnet deep underground, and then you influence the waves, it's naturally going to shift those magnets, right?
あくまで私の推測だけど
It's only speculation on my part, but I'm still strongly considering
こ
it.
の2つの地震は
I
天
just,
災じゃなくて人災かもって思ってる。
I just can't help but feel that these two earthquakes aren't natural, that they're both man-made.
だってどっ
They're
ち
one
も
of
普通
them
じゃない
are
もん。
remotely normal.
前の地震では震度3っていう規模なの。
The one from 3 months
8人
ago
も亡く
killed
なって
8
るし
people despite only being a seismic intensity 3
そして
earthquake.
今回は震度5で118
The
人。
one from a few days ago killed 118 people despite only being a seismic intensity 5 earthquake.
死にすぎって言った
Now you're playing that there's too many
さっき
deaths.
バンちゃん言ったでしょ。
It's like you two were talking
亡くなった
earlier.
方の大半は死因が不明って。
The cause of death for the vast majority of the victims are still unclear.
そんなの尋常じゃないよ。
It's incredibly unusual.
確かに
Well, I suppose so.
それに空が白く染
On
ま
top
った
of
っ
it,
て
there's a
い
rumor
う
floating around
噂
that
も
the
あ
sky
る。
turned completely white.
そういえば時
Now
間
that you
が
mention
経つ
it,
に
once
つ
a
れて
bit of time
全
has
く行
passed,
動
there
さ
was
れな
next
く
to
な
no
った
coverage of it at all.
マスコミに
Maybe
何ら
there's
かの
some
圧
kind of
力があった
pressure
のか
being
もね。
placed on the media.
まさ
You're
か
kidding.
名和と
The Maywa party.
おそらくそうよ。
That'd be my first guess.
マジっすか？
Are you serious?
名和党とつなが
Maybe
り
a
の
good idea to start looking into companies who got links to them
もうやったわよ。
way ahead of you.
さすがももちゃん
And no
相変わら
surprise
ず
there,
仕
Mom
事
Chan.
早
You've
い
always
ね
been quite the busy bee.
で
So what you got? Almost raised her hand skyward and stretched far and wide, tilting her head slightly to the side. A satisfying pop sounded from her bones.
それらしい当たりはなし。お手上げよ。
Sorry, throwing in the towel.
お手上げ
You throwing in the towel?
ももちゃ
I'm
ん
shocked, Mama Chan.
やっぱももちゃんさんの推測が間違い
See,
な
your
ん
guess
だ
turned out to be wrong after all.
そうかもしれないわね。
Perhaps so.
これでも結構時
I
間かけ
assure
て
you,
調
I've
べた
done
の
the
よ。
work when it
本業
comes
そ
to
っちのけでね。
researching. I even placed my actual job on hold
でも
for
行
it.
き詰まっちゃったわ。よほど巧妙に隠されているか。スワちゃんの言う通り、私の推測が見当外れでしかないのか。
But I'm at the end of my rope. I'm not sure if it's all extremely well hidden or my guess is just wrong like Suichan suggested.
こういう時は別の方向から攻めてみるってのがでかい鉄則だぜ
For times like these, there's an ironclad rule of detective's handbook attack by good rain.
先輩
Sir,
心当たりあるん
you
す
have some idea what might be going on? Do you have some idea of what might be going on? On stop the hand, I'll span himself, then wet his lips to his tongue.
週末に G レートが上がって得するやつって誰なんだろうな
What do you think might benefit from the G rate being higher on the weekends? Hold on, I want to think about this. Weekends. So people are not at work, they're at home. When people are at home, they're on their TVs. Huh. I hadn't heard any more auditory illusions, but I couldn't bear to spend even another second in the classroom. So I booked it to the restroom and hid it there until afternoon classes were over. The reason I hadn't immediately headed back to my base was not only because of my lingering regret, but also because I still hoped I'd get to see Remy. So after school, once everybody had left, I snuck back in the empty classroom. And there she was, all alone in the room, smiling at me as I walked in. Was Remy.
石どこ行ってたの？待ってたのよ。
Bishi, I've been waiting for you, Taku. Where have you been?
一緒に帰ろっか、タク。
Well, I'm ready to head home if you are. I was hoping you'd say that is exactly what I'd wished for. But I was the only one in the classroom. Nobody's waiting for me. Made my way to the courtyard. It was here that Remy told me I'll stay by your side. And now there's no one here. My only companions were the purple flowers in the flower bed swaying lonesomely in the autumn breeze. I grabbed the vermilion handkerchief out of my bag, the same one that Remy had given me. I sniffed it, hoping to smell a familiar floral scent. But that smell never came. I'd likely washed it once before, and in the process erased every trace of her. It was just a regular handkerchief now. The memory lingered, but Remy did not. Every part of me crying out to see her.
なんて
Care. Simply wander around the school grounds.
なんて救いようがないん
There
だ。
really is no hope for me.
僕って
They were holding her handkerchief to my mouth the entire time. I disguised myself so much I felt like I was going to vomit. After leaving the school, I began to walk around aimlessly. I didn't care about anything anymore. My fears about being attacked by Shogun or Yua or whoever else completely vanished. I even found myself wishing they would kill me as long as it wasn't painful. I welcomed it. My mental state being completely overtaken by depression. When my gaze happened upon it, the center of Shibuya was so bleak. It only served to accelerate my depression all the more. Not a single smile could be seen on the people walking down the street. All they did was scowl grimly at their surroundings. It gave me the place a particular stark atmosphere, one where it felt as if a fight could break out between a passerby at any moment. Stores that normally be filled to the brim with people had their shutters practically bolted to the ground. Just by walking aimlessly through Shibuya, I'd already come across a ton of them. Yep, biorhythms acting up, if I had to guess. I also noticed that there were less cars on the road than usual. The jumbotrons that always blared through the streets are now completely silent. The places with incessant sounds of police sirens, car horns, and various cars screeching in the distance. There wasn't a single trace of the mess it caused in front of the station a week ago. If I hadn't disappeared from the people's memories yet, the city's memories may have long since driven me into obscurity. How nice would it be if I, too, could wipe away my memories? To know nothing, to be ignorant, to remain a fool. I'm sure a person like that lived a life full of sunshine and roses.
無知は罪だ。
Ignorance
知
is
ら
a
ない方が
sin.
幸せなこともあるという
People
人間
claim
もいる。
ignorance is a bliss,
そんなのはただの甘えだ。
but that's simply naive. I had a feeling Senna had said that to me. Was it really so wrong being naive? People, me, none of us are that strong. I was always wishing for someone to save me. I couldn't do anything on my own. I didn't want to. Stood in the middle of the road and closed my eyes. The most agonizing thing about all this was I barely understood what was actually going on. Things like Shogun and DI stores were things I didn't want to know. I ended up learning about them regardless. Or if you were to ask me what they were, I wouldn't be able to answer. I didn't know the answer. Maybe I should just die. Looking at the top of the O-front building, I thought that to myself. If I were to die, maybe my memories would reset and I would get to play again. Hey, a person controlling me, what do you think? The current playthrough is a complete and utter failure. You made a mistake by allowing your joke of a character to grow in levels. Should have made me more of a hero, should have made me actually cool, should have made me more sociable, respectful to women, you should have given me a passionate sense of justice that allowed me to empower the weak. As I am now, I can't beat the final boss, I can't beat the game, I can't do anything, so please don't expect me to reset the game. Please, I'm worthless like this, erase me. If I could be given a choice to actually do it, I wasn't erased. Instead, I felt the impact of someone bumping at my shoulder.
Alright.
Hey, you're in the middle of the road, you're in the middle of the damn sidewalk. Thought it was just an auditory illusion. Earlier this morning, I heard a girl version of that line. Now is a guy version who asked for that. I'd rather hear a much more moe voice, an illusion I can actually effect later. Again, if they were to whisper something sexy in my ear, I'd get a boner even though I was in the middle of the city. Well, ignore me, you piece of shit. You're a motherfucker? You're a Nishijo, aren't you?
どうなんだやらせ超能
Well,
力
how
少
about
年
that? Looks like we got ourselves a fake ass for a
こ
boy.
の前テレビ出てたよ
You're
な
on TV the other
ゲレ
day.
いっぱいもらったんだろ
You're probably fucking loaded from the royalties.
ちょっと顔貸せよ
Look at people not
Yes,
talking to
but-
Sprickoon. I opened my eyes. There were 3 men standing all around me. All 3 of them were wearing baggy clothes and they had gold, silver, and red hair. 2 of them had their noses and ears pierced, and their main ones had their ear pierced. One of them was a Ganguro, which I thought completely extinct for now. Ah, there's a death flag, I thought to myself. So this was the bump into confrontation kind of death flag, huh? It really was just one after another today. Whatever, I don't even care anymore. Just hurry up and kill me. Once you do, the game will reset and I'll be born in it. You have a knife on you? Make sure you stab me in a way that I die instantly, alright? I was so scared my legs were shaking. Help me. I shouted that instinctively, though I'd been closer to a scream. I didn't care how it made me look. Somebody help me. I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. I was lying about not caring anymore. My situation might be hopeless, but I still don't want to die. Shut the fuck up. One of the Dokuns covered my mouth. I couldn't speak anymore. I grabbed my arms from both sides. If you make a single fucking peep, I'll fucking end you right now. I stopped resisting. They dragged me to a deserted alleyway no one would go anywhere near, grinning the entire time. So I decided to launch a preemptive strike against the three men. Sorry. I got down on my hands and knees and apologized in a shaky voice. I'll give you all the money you want. So please, just let me go. I held out my wallet to them. The Dokun snatched it from me. Well, what do you know? You are fucking loaded. You're the esper boy that keeps on giving. Yeah. You're a real nice guy. I like you. So on my hands and knees, I breathed a sigh of relief when he said that. If you like me, he's probably gonna let me go. You can become one of us. Admission fee 1 million yen. And it's mandatory. I'd ask you to pay right away. I'll give you till tonight.
なんか超能力使って見せてくれたら半額にしてやってもいいけどな。なんか言えよ。
What do you say?
超能力見せろっつってんだよ。
He told you to show us your psychic powers.
できねえの。
Can't get it up.
できねえのかっつってんだよ。
Can you fucking do it or not? Felt a sharp pain jolt through my side. It felt like he'd broken my ribs. Couldn't breathe, nearly lost consciousness. I was dizzy. Right as I thought that the Doku's foot came into view in front of me, then aiming directly at my face, his shoe shot towards me at tremendous speed. It just happened. I thought I felt an agonizing pain radiating from my face. It might have just been a delusion. I tried to open my eyes, but my eyelids refused to move. The darkness wouldn't go away. Fuck, you out already?
どうする？このくらいにしとく？
What do we do? Should we leave him and take off?
もうちょっと痛みつけといた方がいいんじゃね？
rough him up a bit more?
あのダーススパイダーの兄ちゃんもそう言ってたじゃん。
That's what the Darth Spider guy told us to do?
ボコボコにしてくれって言ってた。
He wants us to beat the living shit out of him.
こいつボコるだけで金くれるなんてよっぽどこいつのこと嫌いなのかもな。
Maybe they hate this guy so much that they're willing to pay someone else to do it, but they can't be fucked. They can't be fucked to do it themselves. というわけなんで続きます。 Let's keep it right on going.
俺らのこと恨まないでね。
Don't hold against us. Sorry, I want to kill them. I want to kill them.
Oi! 何土地狂ってんだよ。ふざけんな。なんだそれ。おい。
What is that? Hey.
よせ。やめろ。
Stop.
やめて。
Stop it. No.
やだ。
Huh? Shogun? pale evening sun shone through the window of a hospital room. The light, singed red by the twilight, divided the room into two distinct parts, one captivated by light and one dominated by darkness. And what was illuminated by that light was a bed adorned with pure white sheets. On the bedside table sat a handheld video game console. Remember academic books lined a nearby shelf, neighbored by the muted pink petals of an arrangement of cosmos flowers resting in a vase. The room was neat and tidy. Nothing moved, nothing stirred. It was a piece of space where time seemed to have come to a stop. The window cut into the sky, and by that window was a small figure sitting in a wheelchair. The figure's back to the window. He remained still and motionless. His breathing was so light that the intervals between each breath were long. One might think he was already dead. His skin was covered in wrinkles. His cheeks were hollow. His eye sockets were sunken in. His scalp was barren. These features, it was often questioned whether he should be referred to as a young boy or an old man. The shadow, which he had dubbed Shogun, extended all the way to the door of their room. The world then moved for the first time. The door slowly opened. A figure emerged from the darkened corridor, stepping foot into the room, steeped with the evening glow. Is that Remy? Oh my lord. Sakihata Remy did not fully enter the hospital room, instead choosing to remain at the entrance. Her expression, illuminated by the setting sun, detailed how the girl had been deep in thought.
もう
Can we
やめよう。
stop now?
残念だけど、
Sorry to say this, but
あの彼は
that boy,
西
Nishijo
條匠は
Takumi,
消すべ
should
きだよ。
just be erased. Shogun remained motionless in response to her words.
どうして？
Why do you think so?
危険だから。
He's dangerous. His voice was laden with grief and sorrow. Her eyes appeared slightly moist.
私が
Can I
消そうか。
erase him?
ダメだよ。
No, can't. He was unable to confirm whether or not he was actually moving his mouth to speak.
彼には
There was
やってもらわ
something
なくちゃいけな
he
いこ
must
とがあ
do
るん
for
だ。
me. Remy hung her head, then gently ran her fingers through her hair that draped down before her.
例えば、あなた
Can
は
you
夢に見たことを
remember
覚え
your
ていられる？
dreams? Yes.
そっか。
Oh,
私、
I forget them
すぐ忘れちゃうんだ。
soon after I wake up.
できる人と
Some
で
people
きない
can
人
remember
が
them, and some people can't.
できる人はきっと
People who can
ロマンチストなんだね。
must be real romantics.
すごく長い夢
I
をよ
often
く
have
見るよ。
very, very long dreams.
見ている間は
They can feel like
何年
several
にも
years
感
have
じられる。
passed by as I dream them.
私も
I
そうだ
have
った
ones like that too,
そうだった
or at least
気がす
I
る。
feel like I did.
でも、それは幻。
But that's just an illusion.
実際の時間としては
In reality,
寝ているうちの
dreams
ほん
only
の
take
2、
up to
3秒
2 or
程
3
度のもの
seconds
なん
of
だ
your
って
time
夢って。
as you're sleeping.
心の歌方
Like
なの。
bubbles floating to the surface of your mind.
だから早
That's
く
why
目
you
覚
need
め
to
て
hurry and wake up.
出ないと。
If you
いつか
don't, then
あ
someday
なたは
Nishijo
西條
Takumi
匠に
is
殺さ
going
れ
to
ちゃう。
kill you.
それでも構わないよ。
Even if that were to happen, I would be at peace with it.
夢から覚めるわけにはいか
This
ない
is。a dream for which I cannot awaken.
この夢は完結させなくちゃ。
I must see it through.
完結した夢の後には何が残るの？
After the dream is complete, will there be anything left? So remember at the beginning of the game when it, like, I assume it's Shibuya was just like completely destroyed? I'm wondering if that's what's real, and just anything functioning at all is fake. And Nishijo, once he kills Shogun, will cause the world to go back to destroyed state, because it's Shogun's delusion that makes anything in the world happen. He's the god, he's the eyes, all that stuff. My shoulder was shaking softly. It was extremely gentle, and after just one shake, it stopped. I felt like someone was peering at my face. My consciousness was slowly returning to me. As it did, the pain in my body returned along with it. The smell in my nose was a smell so strong it made me want to vomit, the smell of blood. I felt tingling around my upper lip, the taste of iron spread throughout my mouth. Slowly opened my eyes. Is that girl? Oh. I was in the same back alley as before. I was lying face down the asphalt. Right in front of me was a small reddish-brown puddle of liquid, likely seeping out from one of the dumpsters. Uh-oh, you killed a bunch of people. Grimacing the smell invading my nostrils, I sat up. My whole body ached. My face in particular hurt like hell. It was hot and tingly, like someone had taken a lighter and gasoline to it. Right beside me, a girl I recognized was kneeling down looking at me. She looked like she was about to cry. It was a transfer student, the girl who transferred in my class. What's her name again? Oshihara. I was a transfer student here, I wondered. And the transfer student held out something to me. It was my wallet. Why'd she have it? My head so foggy, I looked around. The 3 Dokuns that attacked me earlier were now lying in a pool of blood. What the hell? It was like they'd all been one-shot by some OP mob. The faces of all 3 were barely still intact. Were they dead? None of them moved a single muscle. No. Was this the 7th New Gen case? Who the hell would do something like this? Had I... The transfer student then stood up and beckoned to me. I was completely pale. She alternated between looking at me, who was still very confused, and the 3 class of people. Tears welled up in the corner of her eyes. Suddenly she grabbed my hand and took off running with me in tow, staggering every once in a while. As soon as we reached the main street, the transfer student let go of my hand. I hadn't run very far, but she was already out of breath. Huh. Okay, so I'm thinking about this. Remy said that Takumi needs to be erased because he's too dangerous. Now, what she meant by that, I have no clue. But I have 2 guesses. She's either talking about the fact that I just, potentially killed 3 people and I'm responsible for the 7th New Gen case, or she'd be talking about the fact that I have a DI, or am capable of obtaining a DI sword. That leads me to think 2 things. Is Aoi Senna someone who's considered too dangerous? Is Remy considered someone who's dangerous because she is... Didn't she do the crucifixion, or is that just... Was she not even there? I don't know. That makes me think that maybe everyone who is capable of producing a DI sword is like a glitch in the system. Like maybe, how they're mentioning 1s, 0s, -1s. Maybe if you can make a DI sword, you are like a -1 in a way. You're an error. I don't know. We both fall silent. Maybe the transfer student was just as bad as talking as I was. No, that didn't matter right now. What I needed to do first was figure out what the hell had happened. I'd been harassed by those Dokuns and they picked a fight with me. Then I must have passed out. But how long had I been unconscious? Wow. I don't know. About 5 mini minutes. What? There it was again, I heard it again. I thought someone I knew was nearby and tried talking to me, but I couldn't see anyone that fit that description. Yeah, where are all these auditory illusions coming from? Why were they all happening today? It's not an illusion at all. What? Is that girl talking to me through telepathy? I got so overwhelmed lately I had to create a new personality inside my head just so I could cope with everything. Or is you alright and I really do have multiple personalities? Kazuki is here. Own Kazuki. She's a different person than Nishijo-kun. You got it? I've heard that people with multiple personalities can't have conversations between the personalities. But maybe this is an exception? Like Kazuki said, Kazuki's a different person. I was getting really fed up with this voice. I wonder how I'm going to be able to stand just this annoying Kazuki personality, let alone all the other ones. So it's how many personalities do I have inside of me in the first place? I've read some books somewhere that there are patients that just as many as 24 personalities. On top of that, I'm not even sure if the personality I know as me is the main one. Maybe the original person that owns Nishijo's Takami's body isn't actually me. As I stood there frozen, dumbfounded, the transfer student poked my shoulder with her finger. When she poked me, she tried to mumble something, but hadn't ended up saying anything, so instead of speaking, she decided to timidly raise her hand. Kazupi is Kazupi. Huh? Is that girl talking? Kazupi is Kazupi. Kazupi is not transfer student, neither is his. Name is Orihara Kozue. Orihara Kozue. Very faintly remembered hearing that name from Izumi-kun a long time ago. Kozue, Kozue, Kozupi. No. Does this mean that this voice I'm hearing is the one that you're sending to my head? Mr. nodded her head emphatically. Telepathy? Kozupi doesn't really get how any of it works. But yes, Kozupi can telepathy. That's ridiculous. His voice is her? Are you okay, Aziz? I mean, telepathy seems perfectly within the capabilities of the little radio brainwave device, so... The transfer student, her head still hanging downward, glanced up at me and pointed at my face. Her fingertip was trembling. Her nose is going dribble, dribble. Touch my hand to my face. The bottom of my nose is slimy. My nose is bleeding. The transfer student offered me a tissue. I took it from her, wiped away the blood, but I was still feeling very uneasy. The transfer student is... Kozupi, right? Kozupi isn't moving her mouth, she isn't talking. So why can I hear her voice? It's the voice of Kozupi's heart. Enough with that obnoxious speaking style. I can't stand it when people do that in real life. What? Sorry. But you can hear my inner voice too? Yep, Kozupi can hear it. Wait, why don't we just talk to me normally? Because it's embarrassing. I don't know how you feel. I'm like that too. When I said that, she scurried around me like a chipmunk, glanced at me, then started walking toward the station by herself. Kozuki thinks that Kazuki and Nishijo-kun should go now. Why? Confused, I followed her. Okay. As I walked, I noticed something. There was a stabbing pain in my side. The pain throbbed every step I took, so I was forced to stop. I gripped my side, took a breath. There were people everywhere, hate should be with a burning passion. I felt like everyone I passed by was laughing at me. I felt like everyone was watching me. I felt like everyone knew my face. Don't look at me, don't laugh at me. I want to find somewhere I can get away from it all. I need a place to rest. Crazy. There's a really nice place around here. Just follow Kozupi. The energy in Kozupi's voice now is a stark contrast to the few times we saw each other at school before. And even though she doesn't talk in real life, her inner voice has energy to spare, to say the least.
わあ今のうるさい女って考え
Right
な
now, Kozubi's gonna think like a girl is annoyed. Uku. Being able to talk to her in my head is convenient, but at the same time it's kind of annoying. Come to think of it, I'm accepting this stuff pretty easily, despite the fact that I'm not sure of how the hell it actually works. It's really genuine, real-life psychic power.
やっぱりコズピ
It's
ー
just
の
like
こと
Kozupi thought.
君は
Kozupi really is creepy, isn't she?
こんなの普通じゃない
Stuff like
し
this, that's not normal. I'm not bothered by the fact that you're not normal, it's just that I've met all the kind of weirdos recently. But you, Kozupi, you talk kind of funny, sure, but you're not scary and you're not Denput here. If anything, I prefer this.
そう言ってもらえると
Oh, wowsies.
うるうるってなっちゃう
Kozupi's really, really happy now. Okay, hold on. Am I going crazy? Or is Kozupi the same voice as Seraton? Don't they both say S like Z's, like wow Z's? I can't tell. I feel like there's something going on there. As we walked, Kozupi suddenly burst in tears. Suddenly, startled, I hurriedly gave her back the tissue. Sniffle. And her bowing to me one more time as she needed to, she took the tissue and wiped the tears from her eyes. Back to what I was saying earlier. It feels really weird, also makes me feel pretty uncomfortable when people can hear everything I'm thinking. That's my honest opinion about
そう
it.
だよね
Kozupi sees.
ごめんなさい
Kozupi is showy.
でも
But it's not because Kozupi wants to. Kozupi can hear people even if Kozupi doesn't want to. Oh yeah. Is that so?
そうなの
It's so. Well, either way, I know you don't want to be told that by an otaku freak like me. I was right, a disgusting guy like me really is worthless.
そんなことない
It's not even teensy bit true. Just as I was about to revert to my depressed state, Kozupi shouted at me with her inner voice. Well, if Kozupi knows that Takumi saved Ayase, then she must be able to access a DI sword, potentially.
ダメだよ
Not
そん
allowed.
なことを
You're
言
not
っ
allowed
ちゃ
to say something like that anymore.
そんな悲しい
It's
こ
just
と
way too sad. Sniffle. Tears start to trickle down her face once again. Why are you crying? Do you feel sorry for me? So there's no reason to. I mean, look at me. I'm so utterly delusional to create personalities inside my head and treat them like they're actually real people. For example, there's Remy.
それって
Huh?
先畑さん
Do you
じゃなかっ
mean
た
Sakihata-san?
先畑さんのこ
Or
と
Sakihata-san? You know her?
だってクラスメートだよ
She's Kozupi's classmate.
西条くんの
And
彼
Nishijo
女さんなの
girl.
だ
Like hell she is.
あ違うの
She's
てっ
not.
きりてっきり
But
そう
Kozupi
だとば
really
っかり思
thought
ってた
that she really was. Kozupi knows who Remy is, which means Remy is real. She isn't just a delusion. She isn't someone I made up in my head. Remy really is real.
そうか
I see. I'm so happy. That's really true. Why hasn't she contacted me a single time? Maybe the O-front incident really did make her fall out of love with me.
先畑さん地震
And
が
the
あ
day
った
after
あ
the
の
big
日
earthquake,
青い
Sakihata
顔をして招
Sean
待
left
してい
school
っちゃったの
early.
だ
She looked super D-duper pale.
それ以来
After
学
that,
校来て
Sakihata
ない
Sean
よ
stopped coming to school at all.
もしかして家族に
Maybe
何か
something
悲
sad
しい
happened
ことがあ
to
った
her
か
family?
も
Maybe. Is that so? Felt like I'd been saved. Now that I knew Remy hadn't abandoned me, I generally felt like I was about to burst into tears. If it's really true, if Remy really isn't a delusion, then I actually have reason to go to school to see Remy again, so until I see her again, I'll try my hardest to.
気をつけてね
Be careful. Huh?
西条くんが
Nishijo-kun,
先畑さんと付
Kozupi
き合ってる
didn't
って
tell
思っ
you
てたから
because
言わな
Kozupi
かった
thought you
け
were
ど
going
けど
out
け
with
ど
Sakihata-san, but
先畑さんに
は
Ichijo-kun's
気を
gotta
つ
be
けて。
careful around Sakihata-san. What do you mean?
先畑さんは
Ichijo-kun doesn't
よくわ
really
かんない
know
のら。
Sakihata-san. Again, what do you mean? What do you mean I don't really know her? What do you mean because of the crucifixion? Or is that even though I'm supposed to have been classmates with her since first year, all my memories of her are missing? It's true that Remy still is a bit of a mystery to me. She saved me over and over again. Whenever I'm scared, she tells me that she'll stay by my side. She's not my enemy. For some reason, because we looked a bit unstable.
そんなに一度にい
When
っぱ
you
い
think that much stuff all at once, like that,
コーズピーついてい
Kozuki
きな
can't
い。
keep up. Sorry. It's just pretty new to me. Whenever I have a conversation with someone, I always end up not being able to say 20% of what I'm thinking before it ends. When it comes to this mental stuff, I guess I just can't help but talk too much because I think too much. I guess that kind of applies to you too. I never would have expected you to talk so much inside your head, that is.
喋ってるっていう感覚は薄いよ。
It kind of only barely feels like I'm talking.
考えてるだけ。
Because if you just
それ
think,
が流れ込むだけ。
and then it all comes
相手
flowing
に
in.
はビビーって相手からはドバ
Because
ーっ
if he just thinks at someone like beep beep, and then to someone goes bang boom back at
て
it.
慣れてないと自分の思考と相手の思考がごちゃごちゃってなってにゃーってなるの。
If you're not used to it, then your thoughts and the other person's thoughts get all fumbled, jumbled up, and it's like, and yeah, that's how Kosuke thinks about it. In Japanese, please. I kind of understand where you're going for, though. I think you're trying to say that you don't have the real subtlety or nuance of actual conversation. There's nothing like, for example, looking at the other person's expression and then deciding that you're no longer able to bring yourself to say what you want to say because of it. Someone's thoughts leaked out wildly, then you no longer be able to read the room. Transmission is one way, but isn't two-way either. It's like having to pick one arrow of an avalanche of other arrows, all which are flying in different directions, all of a sudden ignoring all the other ones you didn't need. You have to tune out the excess
だか
noise,
ら
which is why I feel so comfy and like
距
you're
離感
much
も近いけど
closer to someone.
傷つくことも
It's a lot
簡単なの。
more easier to get hurt too. Everyone, Kosuke's expression clouded a bit not too long after a tearful smile rose his face.
西条くんは初めてなのにすんごく上手だよ。
You're already super duper good at it.
コズピーとビビビが合うの。
The beat boosts match up really nice with Kozuki's. Beeps? Are you trying to say we're on the same wavelength?
そう波長
Yeah.
波長。
Wavelengths. Well, I guess it's probably because I do something similar to say we're talking pretty often.
あ、でも
But
あの時の西条くんは
back then,
怖かったの。
Nishijo-kun
もうピ
was
ー。
super scary. Upbeat. Back then,
今日の朝教室
this
で
morning in the classroom. Oh my god, that reminds me, I think I had a really stupid delusion this morning.
だからうひゃ
That's why
ー
Kozuki went, oh yeah, and then Kozuki just ended up talking to you all of a sudden.
本当はなるべくこの力を
Well,
他の
beyond
人
the
に知
net,
られないように
Kozuki
し
decided
よ
that
うって
Kozuki should
決めてた
let
の
as little
に。
people know about Kozuki's power. Wait, you don't understand. Wait, you don't understand back then. I was really desperate, well, at the end of the day, it was just a delusion. Haha. My king probably hate me. Sorry.
きっとそれを本当にやってたらコズピーは
Nishijo-kun
西条くんを
really did do that. Kozuki
殺してたよ。
would have killed him right then and there. Wait, say that again? Hold on. Kosupi's sure that if Nishijo-kun really did do that, Kosupi would have killed him right then and there. That's frightening, huh? She said such a disturbing thing so innocently, the contrasting the two extremes sent a chill down my spine. Being silent while still communicating our heads, the two of us passed through center guy and came out on Inokashiradori. From outside's perspective, the two of us looked like a brand new couple, walking in silence, not even looking at each other. Kozuki let out crazy like gas next to me. Her eyes went wide and she looked up at me. A couple? No, it's just a random thought. A random thought. Cute. Kozuki was about to go all over again. Z's. Nishijo-kun had made a lovey-dovey confession to Kozuki. Sorry. I knew it. It really just sucked trying to think when someone's listening to every thought you have. If I was talking to Kozuki, it would probably be better for my overall health by avoiding any unnecessary delusions as much as possible. Kozuki wants to ask Nishijo-kun something. It's about last week when Nishijo-kun was on TV. Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. That's just in the start, Sean. Kozuki was down below back when it happened. Down below? At Scramble Crossing in front of Hachiko's ticket gates. Kozuki was just happening to pass by. Back then, Kozuki could hear it the whole time. Kozuki could hear Nishijo-kun's voice. Stuff like, I want to save Nanami-san. I've got to save her. Kozuki heard it all. My inner voice really reached that far. It's surprisingly a long way from the roof of O-front to Tickegate Station. Yeah, and that alone shows how strong Nishijo-kun's feelings were back then. I guess Kozuki really did understand. I didn't cause such an uproar to displaying a show off my ESP. That's why Nishijo-kun doesn't not have order. Does it not? But in the end, it was all pointless to put my own life for Anonymies. In the very last second I escaped. I was stopped by the entrance to Rock, and then while pointing at the entrance, she looked at me. It must have been where she wanted to take me. I didn't think there would be a place for us inside the Rock. A small cramped spot that was filled to the brim of customers. My legs were unconsciously shaking. The cheers and shouts I'd heard that night at Scramble Crossing resounded inside my head. I don't want to go to places with lots of people. Once I go inside, there will be nowhere to run. I'll be okay, says Nishijo-kun. In spite of how afraid I was, Kozuki marched on ahead, ignoring me. I had no choice but to follow her as fast as my legs could take me, trying my best not to look at my surroundings. As we got to the escalator, Kozuki looked back at me, staying behind her. She was staying one step higher than me, putting us about equal height. Say it wasn't she. It's all thanks to everything Nishijo-kun had. That's interesting. How making that decision that was supposed to be bad somehow saved her? My power isn't what saved her. I might as well have done nothing at all. Nishijo-kun was reaching out really far on the rooftop, right? Well, what were you reaching out for? Were you trying to jump and fly away with a new? No, I was trying to get the sword. It was a delusional sword and I blended right into the scenery. I saw from the rooftop. A DI sword? Huh. A DI sword? I was told I could reach out and grab it, but I couldn't. How do you... I shouted that out loud without thinking. Go passing by the square gave me an irritated look and I frantically slapped my hand over my mouth. Kozuki, how do you know what a DI sword is? Because Kozuki has one too. Right at the escalator on the 5th floor, Kozuki casually raised her right hand above her head. It was like she was trying to shade herself in the radiant glare of the sun using her hand. Is her sword just the sun? So we're running along, her hand, light suddenly appeared in the air. No, it wasn't light, it was closer to the lines. I would describe it as something similar to a wire frame. Countless rays of light intersected the seemingly empty space, but eventually forming a shape akin to that of a snowboard. and several streaks of blue light more fiercely brilliant than any of the wireframe lines ran across the entirety of it. Kozapi then clasped her open hand. Whoa. Immediately following this, it had originally been the wireframe, appearing as though a texture had been applied to it, transformed to a massive, solidly cold-to-the-touch metal plank. A DI sword. The shape was far too different from the one Sen and Ayase possessed, and yet even so the aura about its body is exactly the same. It was too sinister to be called a lord. It was too unaffected to be called a sword. It was more like a hunk of raw iron. It was just a pure unadulterated savagery, one which intermingled with its destructive nobility. She held in the air with incredible ease. It was way too big to swing around like that indoors, and there were other customers around. If anyone were to get hurt, it'd be a total disaster. Because these behaviors make me really nervous. I wasn't sure if it was because she knew I was afraid, but Kozabi recklessly lowered her sword and spun around the spot. She looked like she was having fun. This is Kozapi's sword. It helps Kozabi beat up and down the baddies. Beat up and down the baddies? The swords made me feel uneasy, something bothered me about them. What I remember was the smell of blood. I remember the scene of the Dokuns lying down in the pool of blood. People who do horrible things like that deserve to die. So they really were dead. Nope. Even though those worthless cockroaches have no reason to live, they're still alive. Cocky roaches? Cockroaches. Kozapi really did want to kill them. I feel pretty clearly where Kozapi's mind was when she said that. There's not a trace of malice within her. You just want to take revenge on the bad people who had wronged her, and I didn't think there was anything inherently wrong with that. Lately, Shibuya is getting a lot more dangerous. Like yesterday, some cockroaches tried to get me. So Kozabi crash bang beat them up. This girl honestly seemed pretty twisted, albeit in a different way than me. She's going over here. As we began to walk her gigantic DI sword still in hand. She's pretty short and her arms were really thin. She didn't look like she could even lift a feather, and yet despite all these things, she didn't show any signs of her sword weighing her down. In fact, her steps were light and springy. I covered my eyes again and again each time the tip of my sword nearly collided with passing customers or products on display. Miraculously, though, I didn't end up hitting anything. We then arrived at a staircase. It was dimly lit, and unlike the rest of the floor, there was no sign of anyone around. No one even approached the area. I didn't expect to find such a desolate spot inside Roft, a ridiculously popular store, especially since it was only a 5-minute walk from Shibuya Station. It's not just Roft, actually. Stairs in a lot of stores rarely ever have any people near them ever. I only moved here a few weeks ago and I've been living here for almost 2 years. How exactly did you know about this? But I didn't. Kozapi's been walking around Shibuya every day since Kozapi came to Tokyo. That's how Kozapi found it. It's a real relaxing rest place. Kozapi, seemingly in a good mood, sat down the steps. Some casually laid her DI sword down on the floor. I had a pain in my side that was becoming unbearable, so I decided to take a break as well for the time being. So Nishijo-kun, whenever you look at the scenery or some other kind of pattern, do you ever see other stuff? Stuff like elephants, rabbits, lions. Who do you think what things made her go the most woe was when she saw a big salamander? What in the world are you talking about?
話ですよ。
Kozupi's talking about DI swords.
何かの模様とか景色とか見ると、動物さんとかいろんな形に見えることがあって。
Like many little animals and stuff. Oh, you mean that? Yeah, I've experienced that before. When I was looking from the perspective of the O front rooftop, I saw something. I saw a DI sword blending into the scenery.
はい、ピンポンです。
Ding dong.
コズピーが最初に見えた時は、ハムポンポンが死んじゃった時。
The first time Kozupi's sword. The first time Kozupi saw Kozupi's sword was back when Hom Pom Pom died. Hom Pom Pom, is
小
that your
学生
dog?
の時飼ってた
Small
ハム
hamster
スター。
Kozupi took care of back in middle school.
それでハムポンポンのお墓を作ってあげ
So
よ
how
う
it
っ
went is
て土手
Kozupi
に行
went
った
down to
の
the
ら。
river to make a grave for him. Hom Pom Pom.
でもスコップ忘れてお墓作れなくて、うみゃーって泣いていたら。
Because we got there, she realized Kozupi forgot her shovel, so she couldn't make a grave for Hom Pom Pom. So Kozupi started crying wow really hard.
お空にこの
And
剣
then
の
Kozupi
形が
saw
見
the
え
shape
た。
of this sword in the sky.
それからはいろんなところでよく見るようになったのら。
Kozupi started seeing it in all kinds of places. How did he actually get your hands on it? In the end, I found my sword, but I couldn't take it no matter how hard I tried to reach for it. I couldn't grab hold of it.
ただ
Well,
願ったんだよ。
Kozupi just wished for it. You wished for it? Like that? You could just have it? If that's what you did, then I did the same thing. Stopping my thoughts in its tracks. Kozupi looked up and he shook her head faintly.
違うのら。
No.
願ったのは
What
ね、
Kozupi wished for was
殺してやりたいっていうこ
Kozupi
と。
wants to kill. Whoa. Huh? And her voice echoed clearly in my head. I had misheard her. She said it very clearly. Kozupi wished to kill, and she'd been beaming as she said it. The stairs leading up from the 5th floor to the 6th floor were very quiet, with only the faintest background music leaking aside in from the restaurant. Neither one of us had said a word. The sound of someone breathing entered my ears. Was it hers? No, it was my own. A staircase where no one would ever approach. Blind spot in the heart should be a pocket of air. Swallowed back my saliva in an attempt to wet an increasingly dry throat.
そう願いながら、
And Kozupi
ビ
wished
ヨ
that
ーンって空
Kozupi
見
looked
たら、
up at the sky
また剣が見えて、
and the sword was there again.
でもその時ま
But
で
until right
剣と
then,
は思ってなかったよ。
Kozupi didn't think it
な
was a
んだ
sword.
か
First
ガ
we
キ
just
ー
thought
ン
of
って
it
したも
like
のって思ってた。
something that went sheen.
あれでブーンってやったら殺せるかなって
Because we thought,
無意識に手を伸ばした
can
ら、
Kozupi kill with that? And then she reached out for it without even doing any thinking.
本当につかめたの
And
ら。
then Kozupi grabbed it. And then what happened? What did you do after that?
殺そうとしたけど
Kozupi tried to kill with
で
it.
きなかった。
Kozupi couldn't.
コズピーの力じゃ
It took
半
Kozupi
殺しに
trying
するのが
with
精一杯
everything
だ
she
ったの
had
です。
just to half kill them. This girl, it's like she's broken.
壊れてないよ。
Kozupi's not broken. Does
こ
Kozupi
こ
look
に剣
broken?
あるもん。
Kozupi's rock solid and she's got a sword right here. The way she gazed lovingly at the sword resting beside her, I could tell that she had absolute faith in it. Something her heart told me as well. Would I have to become this broken in order to get my hands on a DI sword? So still not broken to begin with?
この剣が怖くて仕方なかった。
This sword was so scary. That was what Orihara Kozue had thought before she came to Tokyo. Now it's different. Now it becomes something very important, something entirely irreplaceable to her. This sword, if I have it, then I won't be afraid. The sword will protect me. The sword is my heart, another me. If it had been about 3 weeks ago, when she had first begun to think so, ever since she was a child, because we had the ability to hear the inner voices present in other people's heads. As to when she had first become aware of it, she no longer remember. I must be crazy, I must be really sick. These thoughts pervaded her mind as she sought to understand. Even though she was very young at the time, Kozume knew that her powers was something no one could know about. Thus she must conceal it from her parents. Her powers rendered her unable to make friends, forged a rift between her and her family, and made the people around her think she was merely a girl with ridiculous intuition, one that gave them the creeps. Even when she came to Shibuya, she still had been afraid to go to school. She did not want to be anyone new nor talk to anyone. She thought that they would just be creeped out by her no matter what she did. She did not go to school on the day she was first supposed to, nor the next day, or even the day after, instead choosing to wander about Shibuya during the morning. There's no doubt that Kozue's parents had been notified by the school. The staff must have noticed that Kozue had been absent without prior notice, and yet her parents had said nothing to her. It would be understandable for people to mistake her for a middle school student. Unlike the countryside where she had used to reside, there was no one around to rebuke her as much when she walked the streets on weekday mornings. It had been several days since she had first begun wandering around Shibuya. In that time, she had found a place to relax, the stairs within the local raft. It became a routine for her to sit there and stare off into space. This routine remained true that day as well. After spending nearly 4 hours there, evening broke and she left off to return home. Raindrops fell from the dark gray sky. Kozue did not have an umbrella, and yet without looking at the sky, nor once fretting about getting wet, she timidly stepped out into the rain, until that very much something entered her field of view. The world is ending. A sigh with that message written upon it, sodden by the rain, the handwriting unblurred. The person holding the sign was alone, the lifeless, homeless man sitting on the side of the road under the pouring rain. His head hung downward so that you could see his face. Perhaps he was dead. That person, seeing as though it were a mere image of herself sitting on stairs because they ceased her stride. For just a moment she hesitated. She was a stranger, a homeless man she had never seen before coming to Tokyo. Just the mere sight of him brought a feeling of revulsion. If I talk about it, something terrible happens to me. Such anxiety pervaded Kozue's mind. But what was far stronger than anxiety was Kozue's strong urge to kill the man. It was all too sudden impulse when it struck Kozue, the feeling that if she went through with it, she would be killing herself as well. And so after hesitating for a moment longer, Kozue sent the man the voice of her heart. The world is ending? The man's shoulders twitched. He was not dead. Slowly, he raised his head. His cloudy eyes peeking from beyond the sun bangs looked up at Kozue.
Ah.
Yes.
終わるよ.
It is. Kozue's eyes widened slightly in surprise. Not the fact that he had just confirmed the world's ending, but the fact the man had replied at all. She had not been expecting a reply. The person to whom she would send her inner voice to would rarely respond well, so they would face immense confusion right off as an auditory illusion, or shudder in terror for her walking away with a hurried pace. And she did succeed in communicating with them. It was difficult for the other parties to reply back in an orderly manner. People's thoughts were far too quick, chaotic, and disorderly. Yet the man's expression did not change. He had simply answered Kozue's question with an incredibly short response. The heart Kozue felt through the man's voice was laden in deep sadness. To her, it almost felt as if his heart were shedding tears.
君は剣を持ってい
You
るね。
possess a sword, don't you?
どうしてわかるの？
How do you know that?
君のような子を
Because
他にも知っているから。
I have known other children like you. Kozue raised her hands above her head and withdrew her sword as she stood.
この剣が見え
Can
る
you
の？
see this sword? Hold on, I actually skipped ahead on dialogue. Kozue raised her hands above her head and withdrew her sword as she stood. She thrust the end of the blade toward the man for whatever reason.
見えないよ。
I cannot.
じゃあ
Okay.
どうしてわかるの？
How do you know?
おじさんが悪い人だ
Because
から
I
だ
am
よ。
a bad man.
すまない。
My apologies.
どうして謝
Why
る
are
の？
you apologizing?
おじさんのせいなんだ。
It was my fault.
どうしておじさんのせいなの？
Why is it all your fault?
忠告しかできない
All I
か
can do now is warn people
ら動き出してしまった
because
か
it
ら。
has already begun.
もうおじさんには止める
There's
術が
nothing
な
I
い
can
か
do
ら。
to stop it.
じゃあ
Okay,
おじ
so
さんを殺せば コズピーは悪くなくなるの？
Okay, so if Kozupi kills you, Kozupi will become not so
その
bad.
剣は
That sword
君
cannot
を
be
殺
used
す
in a
者に
manner
も
that
守
will
る者
either
に
kill
も
you or protect you.
思い出してごらん。
Do you remember?
空を見れば雲
Gaze
が
upon skies and clouds float by. So is the DI sword only capable of destroying errors? Is that how it works?
川を見れば流れ
Gaze
が
upon the river as it ebbs and flows.
そこにあったはず。
It should be there.
それと同じこ
It
と
is just the same as this.
その剣は
The
いつも
sword that
君
has
のそばにあっ
always
た。
been by your side.
自分自身の心を
Gaze
見てごらん。
into your heart,
そこにあるのがその剣なんだよ。
and that is where your sword shall be. Gaze into your heart, and as your sword shall be. So for Kozupi, that's killing. But to someone else, it could be different.
でも
But when
殺
Kozupi
したいっ
decided
て
she
願ったら
wanted to kill you,
これが手元にあ
it
っ
was
たんだ
right there in Kozupi's hand.
この剣はコズピーとコズピーの周囲にあるあらゆるものを殺すためのものじゃないの？
Isn't this sword supposed to kill Kozupi and everything around
負の
Kozupi?
感情は否
Negative
定される
emotions
も
are
の
not
じゃない。
something to be repudiated.
人が誰しも持つものだから
They're
ね。
something we all possess.
特別じゃないんだ。
They're not particular to you, nor do they make you different.
どう向き合うか。
It's what you choose to do with them that counts.
目をそらしてはいけない。
You mustn't avert your eyes.
自分を否定しては
You
いけ
mustn't
ない。
deny who you are.
世界は共存。
The world's a mirror image.
君の心の中にあ
What is
る性
positive
は
in your mind
同時に不幸な理
can
由し、
simultaneously be negative,
その逆もまた
and then reverse is also true.
世界が変わるの
The
が
only people who can
生
choose
き続けるのが
whether the world shall end,
それを選
whether
ぶ
it shall continue on,
君たちだけなんだ。
is all of you. In the end, Kozue had not killed the man. The urge had, for some reason or another, ceased to be as the man spoke to her. She did not expressively understand the meaning of the man's words, but even still, she thought long and hard before eventually arriving at a single conclusion. This sword is me. If I look at it and don't deny it, it'll save me. For that reason, Kozue fully cast her faith in her sword. I tilted my head having just listened to Kosuke's story. Who the hell is that man she kept talking about, the homeless guy carrying around a sign? Come to think of it, I felt like I'd seen him around a few times too. Was it the same guy? What I didn't get though is why some random bum knew so much about DI swords. Or was I the odd one out? Maybe DI swords are actually huge in Japanese pop culture and I've just been living under a rock or something. Fat chance. Glanced over at Kozupi. Her face was so calm and peaceful that it was hard to believe that she'd ever blurt out psycho things. Like wanting to kill people. She gently glided her fingers over the surface of her DI sword.
そういえば
By the
あ
way,
のおじさん別れ際にこんなこと言ってたのら
by the way, the homeless man told Kozupi a thing before he left.
君たちは特別な存在
You're
だ
all special beings.
中でも一番特別な
And
の
most
は
special among you
その目誰の目
is the boy who
を
birthed,
産み落とした少
whose
年ら
eyes are those eyes.
しいんだって
Or something along those lines. I didn't know what to say. What the hell?
西条くん心当
Do
た
you
り
know
あ
what
る
it
の
means?
いや別に
Huh? No, not really.
嘘ら
Pisces,
心は
Nishijo-kun's
正
heart
直なん
tells
だ
the
よ
truth.
西条くん
Even
は今
Nishijo-kun
も
himself
のす
doesn't.
ごく関係あ
Right
り
now,
ます考
Nishijo-kun's
えてる
thinking it's super important. Oh god, it is exactly what I was talking about. It sucks trying to think when she's trying to listen to every thought you have.
なんか怖い顔に
Her
なって
face is
る
going kind of scary.
その目誰の目
Whose eyes are those eyes?
西条くんが最
First
初に
thought
考
of by
え
you,
たの
Nishijo-kun? I bit my lip and stood up. My nosebleed had stopped, so I pulled out the tissue crammed into my nose. Kozupi tilted her head as she looked up at me. Where are you? I'm going home. Where? Even though my sides are still killing me, I ignored the escalators and elevators and took the stairs down to the first floor instead. It's much easier to dodge the crowd to make my way outside. Teary-eyed Kozupi timidly followed behind me. Z's.
Kozupi, 何か怒らせるようなこと言ったかな?
Mad. I disregarded Kozupi's question. I was too focused on trying to sort out the thoughts in my head. The homeless guy she met, could he have been one of the Shogun comrades? And what the hell was up with him mentioning whose eyes are those eyes? Who had he been talking about when he said, the boy who birthed, whose eyes are those eyes? Me? That couldn't be right. I wasn't even close to special. Being here was in my blood. I mean, I couldn't even get my hands on a damn DI sword. I was just an average Joe, villager A, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Being special? No thanks. I'd rather not have another O-front breakdown in my lifetime. So that begged the question, who was that boy? I considered the real culprit behind the new gen case is Shogun. No way Shogun's anything other than an old man. But his voice and body made him seem like a kid more than anything. Everything about him screamed how abnormal he was, how he was something special. Two of the 6 current new gen cases had whose eyes or those eyes appear at the scene of the crime in some capacity. I used the phrase quite a bit, but only ever in my own head. It barely even meant anything, so what the hell are they doing in all those places? Is there an actual reason hidden there somewhere? One that would reveal why Shogun was so persistent coming after me? Maybe the homeless guy had some clues I could work with. I imagined he was still somewhere in the city carrying around his cryptic sign. I should look for him. So I'll look for him, then what? I paused for a moment, then shook my head to nod what I've been thinking. What good would do to look for him is a whole lot more likely to be in harm's way. For all I knew, the guy was one of Shogun's minions, only there to lure me in some horrifying trap. If I just cruised my way over to the guy, there was a strong chance it would just trigger another quest. Didn't know if I could handle that. I was already sick to death of all the pain and terror I've been going through lately. My suspicions didn't end at the homeless guy. I was even suspicious of Kozuki. She didn't really have any reason to, and she was speaking to me with her inner voice. Why was that? Had she been under orders by Shogun to approach me just like Yula? With her really unsettling stance on both attempted and actual murder, it was very possible she was like accomplice in Yujin. And after all the mayhem at O-Front, Remy just up and vanished, and I hadn't heard a word from her since. Then Ayase had been hospitalized for attempted suicide. Nanami was fine, but the 2 people on my side still had completely disappeared on me. Was there any guarantee Remy would ever come back? For starters, was she really taking time off from school? Granted, I only knew that because Kosuke had told me. I had no way of knowing if she was lying or not. All my hair stood up on end, howling at me that something was off. In the end, me and my world were all too empty. Hollow. There's nothing left to believe in, nothing that didn't seem like a lie.
Just
being paranoid. Supposed to be staying right behind me. Her voice as carefree as always. The brutal-looking DI sword sat comfortably in both her hands. She carried it around. Then she cast an upward glance at me. Averted my eyes. Are you my ally or my enemy? Which is it? Did you come here to kill me? Kosuke just what? Just suddenly yelped in excitement. So out of my head, jolted over and realized it wasn't me she was looking at, no, the person she was waiting. Senna-chan, found you. Senna-chan? Wait a second. Tracing the end of Kosuke's gaze, sure enough. Kozue. It's Aoi Senna with the DI sword to her shoulder. She walked towards us, her expression made it clear, her mood was just as sour as ever. we've been going for 3 hours. I think I'm actually gonna probably leave it off there, and we can, this will be our little cliffhanger for now. We'll see how Senna and Kozue interact and what their whole deal is. So yeah, bye.